Should we begin?
Yes, please.
Yes, sir, we can start.
Oh, okay. So, good evening, members and dignitaries. Thank you for joining in today's webinar on CDSL operation circulars, namely DMAT, Debit and Pledge Instruction DDPI, and providing UCC details mandatorily for paying transactions. As shared, the aim of the session is to have a brief insight and awareness on the process involved in transaction through DDPI and the relevance and the impact of providing UCC details. With us, we have today from the team CDSL, Mr. Prashant Ukate and Mr. Shelton Joseph. Thank you very much for your time, Prashant ji and Shelton ji. Before we initiate, as always, we will start with a brief presentation, followed by we'll request the members to raise their virtual hands and ask the questions during the Q&A sessions. On that note, Prashant ji, over to you, sir.
Yeah, thanks, sir. So before we start, let me thank BBF and team to give this opportunity so that I can explain all these concepts to the member brokers. Okay, so what we will do is basically to get into the topic. I will give the presentation first. I will try to explain the concept first, and subsequently, once the presentation is, obviously we'll have a Q&A session in which you can ask the doubts. So basically we'll be discussing two topics today. These are the basically we can say hot topics: demand debit pledged instruction. Actually, इसका पहले भी एक बार session हुआ था. So there are some updates on this, and maybe you may be having some queries on this. So we'll discuss those. And the other topic is providing UCC details mandatory for paid instructions. So if you see, basically currently this facility basically is known as a block mechanism facility, wherein clients give the UCC details. Currently, this facility is optional. So any client who gives the UCC details, that transaction is processed as per the block mechanism process. But now this will be made mandatory. So from 17 September onwards, providing UCC details to the clients will be mandatory. So how this will happen, that will see. So first of all, I will take the DMAT debit pledge instruction, that is DDPI first. So as you all know, basically SEBI issued one circular on April 4th, giving the operational mechanism, operational guidelines, and then subsequently, initially it was to release earlier, but then now that the release will happen from 1st September. But even in that also, CDSL will be releasing that 30th September. So details we'll see in the presentation. So regarding the operational modalities, CDSL issued two communiques. One is communique number 332 dated 14 June 2022, in which all operational modalities were explained. So I will brief those operational modalities. And recently, basically on 19th August, we have issued one more communique in which the implementation date is mentioned. So basically this facility will get released on 30th August and which will be made effective from 31st August. So how it will happen, that also I will explain. And when we will discuss this DDPI concept, basically there will be two types of transaction which we will talk about. One is the normal settlement transaction, that is the cash market settlement transactions, and the margin pledge transactions. So I have categorized those transactions as type A transactions. So when I will say type A transactions, so we can basically correlate that type A transactions is nothing but cash market settlement transaction and the margin pledge transactions. And type B transactions, so popularly basically जो mutual fund का redemption transactions रहता है, and apart from mutual fund का redemption transactions, जो tender offer का जो settlement transactions रहता है early paying का. So those predominantly actually I have mentioned or categorized as type B transactions. So I'll be using these terms in the presentation. So now operational modalities. So let me inform you this, that from 31st August, so effective from 31st August. So basically any client who wants to give the authorization to his broker, to his member, to execute pay-in instructions, so that will be in the form of DDPI ID. Okay, so currently what is happening is member PO, client POA देता है member को, and that POA is captured in the depository system, linked to the client account, and based on that transaction execute होता है. So what will happen from effective from 31st August? Basically, it will be in the form of DDPI. Then secondly, इसका जो operational modality है, ये communique number 332 में दिया है. So basically, how client will give DDPI, उसका format क्या रहेगा, उसका signing वाला जो part है वो कैसा रहेगा. So all these details, like वो DDPI में when client will give DDPI, client will be required to mention, or when this DDPI format will be given by broker to a client before execution. So maybe the accounts will be required to mention by the broker. Like जो broker का जो pay-in account है, जो margin pledge वाला account है, जो early pay-in account है, जहाँ पे pay-in का securities credit हो सकता है. So all these account details will require to be mentioned in the DDPI. So ये जो सब details है वो communique number 332 में मिलेगा. Then basically there is one more thing कि जैसे when I am saying कि 31st August से ये effective हो जाएगा. What it means is basically now there are two types of clients जो demat account open करेंगे 31st August onwards, and there is a set of client जिनका already account open है. And there is one more possibility कि जो existing account है और जिन्होंने already power of attorney दिया है, okay, so till the time this client for executing settlement transactions and margin pledge transaction, उसके लिए जब तक fresh DDPI execute नहीं करता है, existing POA will be continued. And for example, if I am a client, I am already an existing client, I have the demat account, मैंने power of attorney दिया है to execute settlement transaction, margin pledge transactions, and mutual fund and tender offer type of transactions. Then till the time मैं fresh DDPI मेरा broker को नहीं देगा, so till that time basically this execution of transactions will be allowed using POA. But once the DDPI is executed, then there will be a check in the system. DDPI अगर link होता है client account को, then execution of settlement transactions and margin pledge transactions will be allowed only through DDPI ka ID, DDPI ka master PO ID. Okay, so if as a client, as a member, as a DP, if you will try to execute the settlement transactions or the margin pledge transaction, that is type A transaction, using POA, system will not allow that, because for this particular client there is already a DDPI authorization which is linked to the demat account. So that basically will be required to take care. Then once DDPI is executed or linked, system will restrict execution of type A transaction using SSPO. So that is what I have explained now. Then effective from 31st August 22, brokers can continue to execute SSPOA to process type B transactions. Okay. So ये case में जो client ने broker को authorize किया है to execute mutual fund का redemption transactions and for that matter tender offer का early pay-in का transactions, उसके लिए अगर authorize किया है तो उसके लिए POE लेना ही पड़ेगा. Existing client है तो POE है ही. 31st August के बाद में भी अगर नए client को authorize करना है broker को, तो that POA वाला method will be continued. Okay, so for specifically for type B transactions. So type B transactions means mutual fund redemption and tender offer transactions, and type A transaction मतलब normal cash market वाला जो settlement transactions है, and the margin pledge transactions. Then, so basically what are the highlights of this feature? Okay, so first of all, when as a broker you will get this DDPI executed from client, it should be adequately stamped. Then जो पहले वाला जो POA था वहां पे खाली वेट सिग्नेचर अलाउ रहता था. Now in case of DDPI, digital or e-sign along with the weight signature of BOs, that will be allowed. So that is a positive point for brokers. So that जो भी online facility provide करते हैं brokers को, for them basically it will be a beneficial facility, because सब online हो सकता है digital e-sign. Then voluntary document in additional rights and obligations. So basically जो rights and obligation वाला document है वहाँ पे एक clause है. So basically again here this executing DDPI is not a mandatory part. So it is optional to the client. So that is to be mentioned in the rights and obligation document. Then broker to mention CMID and pool and settlement account details in the DDPI. So which I explained. यानी कि client जब DDPI execute करेगा, so in that document, broker will be required to mention as to which paying account or which early paying account or which margin pledge account में securities, paying का securities credit हो सकता है, margin pledge का securities pledge हो सकता है. So all these account details will require to be mentioned in the DDPI. Then broker to sign the document in a similar manner, usme there is no change, e-sign, digital sign with signature. Then physical EDIs are alternate options. So although a client can give DDPI authorization to the broker, but at the same time, they can also give the physical or the EDIs. They can make use of this facility. Then margin pledge transactions. Then settlement paying transactions to CM pool accounts. Okay, settlement paying transactions to CMPL accounts. So basically, this transaction can be executed through DDPI. And then there is one more feature of DDPI. Basically, whosoever will give DDPI authorization to broker. So for those sets of clients, basically giving UCC details will be mandatory. When we say giving UCC details will be mandatory, so it will be followed block mechanism process. So मैं जब block mechanism process बोलता हूँ, तो UCC details mandatory हो जाता है, and अगर UCC details client provide करता है, तो then that particular paying transaction will gets matched with the obligation details received from CC. Means for example, if me as a client, अगर मैंने मेरे broker को DDPI authorization दे दिया, and subsequently अगर मैं authorization दे दिया and subsequently मैंने पेइन का ट्रांजैक्शन अगर ये इस रूट से आ गया, तो यूसीसी डिटेल्स मेरे ब्रोकर को देना पड़ेगा, एंड देन मेरे अकाउंट से जो सिक्योरिटीज है पेइन के लिए, सेटलमेंट के लिए, वो तभी डेबिट होगा अगर वो ट्रांजैक्शन का डिटेल्स एंड मेरा जो ट्रेड का डिटेल्स है जो सीसी के पास से आता है, अगर वो मैच होता है, सो देन ओनली दैट ट्रांजैक्शन विल गेट एग्जीक्यूटेड. सो दीज आर द साइलेंट फीचर्स ऑफ दिस मोडालिटीज. सो एक जस्ट कंपेयर करते हैं कि जैसे पहले वाला जो पीओए फैसिलिटी था, तो उसमें क्या क्या थिंग्स एप्लीकेबल था, एंड अभी जो डीडीपीआई आ गया है उसमें क्या डिफरेंस है. सो पहले वाला पीओए में ओनली वेट सिग्नेचर्स वर अलाउड. सो नाउ अगर client is giving the DDPI authorization, then digitally signed document or e-signed document is also allowed along with the wet signature. So wet signature भी ले सकते हैं, but additionally अगर e-sign or digitally signed DDPI भी can be given to the broker by client. Then all transaction mentioned in POA are allowed for execution. यानी कि POA में जो भी transaction types mentioned है, it may be POA में mention किया हुआ रहेगा कि जो सेटलमेंट ट्रांजैक्शन है कैश मार्केट वाला, मे बी मार्जिन प्लेज का ट्रांजैक्शन, या म्यूचुअल फंड का रिडम्पशन का ट्रांजैक्शन, टेंडर ऑफर का ट्रांजैक्शन, जो भी ट्रांजैक्शन टाइप्स मेंशन किए हैं, सो ऑल ट्रांजैक्शंस वर अलाउड टू बी एग्जीक्यूटेड फ्रॉम द पीओए. बट डीडीपीआई से एज ऑफ नाउ ऐसा है कि ओनली मार्जिन प्लेज एंड सेटलमेंट ट्रांजैक्शन, जहां जो मैंने टाइप ए ट्रांजैक्शन करके कैटेगराइज किया है, सो ओनली ये दो टाइप का ट्रांजैक्शन एग्जीक्यूशन विल बी अलाउड through DDPI authorization or DDPI POID. Then execution of mutual funds, tender offer, settlement transfers can be authorized using POA, but this will not be permitted using the DDPI. So अगर broker के पास जो clients है, अगर वो दो टाइप के clients है, the category 1 type of client जहां पे client ने authorize किया है to execute settlement transactions and margin pledge transaction, and the other set of client जहां पे client ने authorize किया है कि मेरा जो म्यूचुअल फंड का रिडम्पशन ट्रांजैक्शन और टेंडर ऑफर का भी एग्जीक्यूट करना है. सो इन दिस पर्टिकुलर केस क्लाइंट को दो डॉक्यूमेंट देना पड़ेगा, दो ऑथराइजेशन देना पड़ेगा. वन पीओए विच विल बी यूज्ड फॉर द म्यूचुअल फंड रिडम्पशन एंड टेंडर ऑफर ट्रांजैक्शंस, and the other one which will be used, that is the DDPI, that will be used for the settlement transaction का execution and margin pledge का execution. Okay. Then POA allowed for mutual fund and tender offer settlement transaction. DDPI allowed only for margin pledge and settlement transactions. So this we discussed. So यहाँ पे basically I would like to add certain details जो कम्युनिक में मेंशन किए हैं. So for example, so logically क्या होगा कि as a client जब DDPI POA देगा broker को, so broker will be, if broker is a DP entity, so broker will be required to create, जैसा POA देने के बाद master POID create होता है system में. So यहाँ पे DDPI के लिए भी on similar lines DDPI ID create करना पड़ेगा. The difference is while creating the DDPI ID, there will be a separate POA type flag. Okay, so अगर DDPI के लिए ID create करना है, master POID create करना है, तो then as a broker, as a DP will be required to ensure that जो POA type flag है वो D करके select करना है. Then that is what the POA creation or the DDPI ID creation part is. So once that happens, then subsequently जो भी client ने ये DDPI ID का authorization दिया है, उनका डीमैट अकाउंट में ये DDPI ID लिंक करना पड़ेगा. So while linking, basically there are certain things which broker or as a DP will be required to take into account. जैसे ऐसा हो सकता है कि client ने जो authorization दिया है, that is only to execute the settlement transactions. ऐसा हो सकता है कि there are some clients are giving authorization only to execute margin pledge transactions, or there are some clients जो दोनों के लिए भी authorization दे सकता है. So depending upon the request which is received from the client, जब DDPI का ID link होगा demat account of the client, so at that time there is one flag which is GPA BPA flag. तो वो flag का value अगर S है, तो that means client is intending to authorize broker to execute only settlement transactions. अगर वो value P है, so basically client is intending to authorize broker to execute only margin pledge transactions. अगर वो value A है, so that means client has given or authorized member to execute both the types of transactions, that is settlement transaction as well as the margin pledge transactions. तो जब भी DDPI का authorization आएगा, as a broker आपको चेक करना है क्या authorization दिया है, and depending upon that linking के टाइम पे आपको proper value select करना है, because all the validation system are built based on these values. So सबसे पहले DDPI ID जो create होगा, उसके लिए जो POA type flag है वो D रहेगा, and subsequently linking के टाइम पे जो values है, so the possible values are either S for settlement transaction, P for margin pledge transactions, A for both the types of transactions. And then इसके बाद में जो मैपिंग का तो प्रोसेस वही है जो CM का जो easiest login के लिए है, जो जनरली जो POID क्रिएट होने के बाद में जो मैपिंग का प्रोसेस रहता है, so that will remain same. Then there is one more thing which basically you as a broker or DP will be required to take into account. कि UCC डिटेल्स जो भी ट्रांजैक्शन है जो DDPI ID के थ्रू एग्जीक्यूट हो रहा है, so there UCC details will be mandatory. So any transaction getting executed based on the DDPI ID, broker or DP will be required to ensure that UCC details are mentioned. अगर UCC details are not mentioned in the file, suppose transactions are getting uploaded through common uploader, and if UCC details are not mentioned, but it is getting executed based on the DDPI, so that transaction will get rejected. It will not be considered for processing. So UCC details will be mandatory, and there is one more field. If you see transaction upload में एक electronic transfer flag करके field है, तो उसमें possible value जो रहता है Y, अगर electronic transaction है तो Y रहता है, अगर physical transaction है तो N रहता है. Then subsequently अगर EDIS का ट्रांजैक्शन रहता है तो वो D यानी कि प्री ट्रेड, E यानी कि पोस्ट ट्रेड वगैरह जो रहता है. So there is one additional value for that, and which will be G. So G stands for, so any transaction which is getting uploaded to execute this DDPI transactions. So that has to be basically uploaded with the electronic transfer flag at G. So G से जो transaction आता है, so that will be identified as a DDPI transaction. So अगर G से आता है तो UCC details mandatory रहेगा. And there is one more thing which actually I would like to inform. अभी जो भी DDPI के थ्रू जो ट्रांजैक्शन एग्जीक्यूट होगा अपलोड से, अभी ऑनलाइन में करंटली प्रोविजन नहीं है, बट देन दैट विल बी इम्प्लीमेंटेड वेरी सून. सो अपलोड से जो आता है तो उसमें जो DDPI का POID है, सो वो आपको कंपल्सरीली मेंशन करना पड़ेगा. सो बेसिकली माय पॉइंट इज कि client who has authorized broker and on behalf of client, if broker is uploading the transaction through easiest, तो वो केस में अपलोड में जो DDPI का जो ID है, मास्टर POID है, वो मैंडेटरीली आना चाहिए. देन ऑब्वियसली एज आई हैव सेड, उसका इलेक्ट्रॉनिक ट्रांसफर फ्लैग G होना चाहिए. एंड जो इसका जो वैल्यू है, यानी कि क्लाइंट ने अगर खाली सेटलमेंट ट्रांजैक्शन के लिए दिया है तो लिंकिंग के टाइम पे जो एस वाला जो वैल्यू है GPA BPF फ्लैग का, वो प्रॉपरली लिंक होना चाहिए. So these are the prerequisites basically you as a broker, you as a DP will be required to take into account. So these are the details basically regarding DDPI. And then one more time I would like to tell कि existing set of clients के लिए till the time जो old POI वो revoke नहीं होता है to execute settlement and margin place transactions, so that can be continued. But once the DDPI ID is DDPI is executed, then the transaction will allowed to be processed only using DDPI ID. So वो जो POA ID के through जो execution है, so that will be discontinued. So this is number one. Number two, जो भी 31st August onwards जो भी client authorization देता है और system में उसका linking होता है to execute settlement or the margin place transaction, so that has to be with the DDPI ID. That has to be with the DDPI ID. So broker cannot take POI to execute settlement transaction and margin place transaction effective from 31st August. Okay, but if you want to give the service to execute mutual fund redemption and the tender offer transaction, in that case, then again additional POI will be required to be taken the way you as a broker taking today. Okay, so these are the basic details as far as this DDPI circular is concerned. So again I'm repeating, 30th August को ये release होगा. So in system, so basically you will be allowed to create a DDPI ID effective from 31st August, and also effective from 31st August अगर DDPI ID link किया है client account को, then जो transaction execution होगा based on DDPI ID, that will happen with the new logic. With the new logic means basically upload में जो DDPI का ID है mandatorily देना पड़ेगा, whether this upload is happening through CM का EGS login, DP का EGS login, और DP normally system से अगर upload करता है, so in that transaction DDPI ID should come, and UCC details will be mandatory, and the value of the electronic transfer flag will be G. So these basically precautions you as a member will be required to take. So this is what is about the DDPI. Then I will go to the next topic, and then once this topic is over, obviously I will take the Q&A session. Okay. So next topic is basically everybody know the block mechanism process. So SEBI in its circular dated July 16, 2021 introduced this block mechanism guidelines. Okay, so till now those guidelines are optional. So how in CDSL we identify whether any particular client wants to execute his paying transaction based on the block mechanism or not. So wherever in transaction the UCC details are provided, so we take it as a consent that client wants to get his transaction executed based on the UCC based on the block mechanism process. So UCC details is currently optional. So wherever provided, सो ब्लॉक मैकेनिज्म प्रोसेस के थ्रू एग्जीक्यूट होता है. सेकेंडली, EDIS का जो क्लाइंट्स रहता है उनके लिए तो UCC डिटेल्स मैंडेटरी है ही. ओके, so now what is going to happen from 17 September onwards is providing UCC details in all pay-in transactions will be mandatory. So when I say all pay-in transactions, that means अभी CDSL में जो पे इन का इंस्ट्रक्शन देने का जो ऑप्शन है क्लाइंट के लिए, वो सबसे पहले जो प्रीफर्ड ऑप्शन है वो अर्ली पे. सो क्लाइंट गिव हिम अर्ली पे इंस्ट्रक्शन फ्रॉम हिज अकाउंट, नंबर 1. ओके, सो फ्रॉम 17 September providing UCC details in early payment transaction will be mandatory. Number 2, second option is client transfer the securities from his account to the broker pool account, from where वो pool account से पे इन के लिए चला जाता है. So even there also, जब client transfer करेगा member का pool account में, for example in case of BS it is a principal account, if a member is a NSC member it is a clearing member account. तो जब client transfer करेगा पे इन account में, so providing UCC details will be mandatory effective from 17 September. So this is the second option client is having. Third option in CDSL client is having is giving normal pay instruction. So in normal pay instruction में क्या होता है कि securities remain in the client account and client account debit hota hai only at the time of pay. So this is what normal pay is. So even in this case also effective from 17 September, agar koi client a third option use karta hai, so there also providing UCC details will be mandatory. And then the fourth option is interdepository transfers. So even in interdepository on market transfers, now interdepository on market transfer can be of two types. One is on market, jahan pe client having account in CDSL DP उसको NSDL pool में ट्रांसफर करना है without in early paying का option. So that is interdepository normal on market option. Second option is basically where client is transferring securities from his CDSL account to NSDL pool account but with irreversible marking option, that is early paying option. तो वो भी option है. तो even ये दोनों केस में भी providing UCC details will be mandatory to the client. So the point is from 17 September onwards, providing UCC details in the pay-in transaction will be mandatory. Okay, so I will explain that. So for that, you need to understand the block mechanism first, which is already up and ready. जो already last year 21 में ये implement किया है, but at this moment this is optional. So block mechanism में क्या होता है कि UCC details client को देना पड़ता है, and once the UCC details are there, then when in the depository system that particular pay-in transaction is getting executed, जो UCC detail है वो check होता है whether वो UCC details are linked to the client's demat account. अगर वो linked है तो ही then that transaction is considered for further processing. Okay. So currently till now ये optional है, but from 17 September UCC details will be mandatory. Then block. So now in case of, as you know, CDSL में जो early payment transaction का जो processing होता है, so in that case the securities are blocked in the client account early payment के लिए. Okay. So this early payment transaction का execution can take place before the trade takes place. So prior to trade also अगर होता है तो भी वो balance block हो जाएगा. And the one of the good feature of this block mechanism facility is client account से debit तभी होगा अगर client का trade हुआ है. So let us assume कि client ने block mechanism का facility opt किया. When I say opt किया, he may be using early paying route, he may be using the route of on market, that is transfer of securities from his account to member pool account. नॉर्मल पे इन का भी रूट यूज हो सकता है जहां पे क्लाइंट इज ऑप्टिंग टू गेट हिज सिक्योरिटीज डेबिटेड ओनली एट द टाइम ऑफ पे इन. इंटरडिपॉजिटरी भी हो सकता है जहां पे क्लाइंट इज हैविंग अकाउंट इन CDSL and wants to do the पे इन फ्रॉम NSDL pool account. तो ये सभी केसेस में UCC डिटेल्स आएगा एंड बिफोर द बैलेंस will get debited from the client account, it will get validated from the obligation which is received from CC. तो CC के पास से T-day evening को जो obligation आता है, so all these block mechanism transactions will get validated vis-a-vis the obligations received from CC, and then अगर वो match होता है तो then only the debit will happen from the client account. Now यहाँ पे as I have said in the earlier part of the presentation, so many brokers basically prefer client to give the early pay instructions because early pay से pay in भी हो जाता है and benefits भी मिलता है. So now इसमें if once the UCC details will be made mandatory, इसमें broker को एक main advantage ये हो जाएगा कि जब UCC details mandatory होगा and early pay transactions अगर आता है, so any early pay transaction which will get executed, so basically वो ट्रांजैक्शन सीसी को रिपोर्ट होता है. सीसी को जब रिपोर्ट होगा, सिंस द यूसीसी इज अ पार्ट ऑफ ट्रांजैक्शन, तो यूसीसी भी सीसी को, क्लियरिंग कॉर्पोरेशन को रिपोर्ट हो जाएगा. एंड देन इन दिस केस, कोई केस में जहां पे अर्ली पेन एग्जीक्यूशन के बाद में मेंबर को सीसी पोर्टल में जाके जो क्लाइंट का ब्रेकअप देना पड़ता है अर्ली पेन बेनिफिट के लिए, वो देने का जरूरत नहीं है. Okay, because UCC is a part of the transaction, and when any early payment transaction will get executed in CDSL system, that will get reported to the CC. So CC is already having the UCC details. That means CC is already having the breakup of client. So CC is already knows kisko benefit dena hai. So separate breakup, which is currently required to be given by a broker to clearing corporation, so that requirement will no more be there. Okay, so this will be the main advantage which basically broker will get. Okay, then so जो अर्ली पेइन के थ्रू जो एग्जीक्यूशन होता है एंड जहां पे यूसीसी डिटेल्स आर प्रोवाइडेड, सो दैट ब्लॉकिंग व्हिच ऑलवेज हैपेंस इन फेवर ऑफ सीसी. देन एज आई हैव ऑलरेडी एक्सप्लेन्ड, अगर अर्ली पेइन हुआ है, बैलेंस ब्लॉक हुआ है, टी डे इवनिंग को अगर क्लाइंट का ट्रेड नहीं हुआ है, although he had given early pay transaction but trade has not taken place, and after early pay execution depository has already given the details to CC, so clearing corporation also checks कि ये early pay के सामने there is no trade, so then they instruct depository to reverse the early paying transaction. So जो balance block हुआ है client के account में, so that will get reversed. So on T day itself वो balance free हो जाएगा since there is no corresponding trade which has taken place. So this is number one. Number two, जहां पे trade हुआ है, so उसका जो balance है that remains blocked in the client account itself till pay-in day. Okay, so till pay-in day वो client account में ही block रहता है. तो इसका advantage ये होता है कि अगर कोई issuer company का corporate action है, it may be cash corporate action और non cash corporate action, तो उसमें जो बेनिफिट है वो डायरेक्टली क्लाइंट अकाउंट को क्रेडिट होता है. सो अर्लियर केस में कैसा होता था कि जो अर्ली पेन अकाउंट में जाता है एंड देन अर्ली पेन अकाउंट जो मेंबर का रहता है, सो मेंबर वाज रिक्वायर्ड टू डिस्ट्रीब्यूट दैट बेनिफिट्स टू द क्लाइंट्स. सो दैट विल नॉट बी रिक्वायर्ड बिकॉज इट विल बी अ क्लाइंट लेवल पेन. सो जो भी बेनिफिट है कॉर्पोरेट एक्शन का वगैरह वो क्लाइंट को ऑटोमेटिकली मिल जाएगा. एंड ऑल्सो डिपॉजिटरी सिस्टम विल टेक केयर कि जहां पे भी जो नॉन कैश वाला कॉर्पोरेट एक्शन है, स्प्लिट वगैरह टाइप का, जहां पे क्वांटिटी एंड आइजिन में गेट चेंज, तो उसमें वो जो आइजिन चेंज एंड क्वांटिटी चेंज वाला जो चेंज है, सो दैट विल बी टेकन केयर बाय द डिपॉजिटरी सिस्टम. तो वहां पे सेपरेटली क्लाइंट को या मेंबर को या डीपी को कुछ करना ही पड़ेगा. ओके, देन विल डू अवे मूवमेंट ऑफ सिक्योरिटीज फ्रॉम क्लाइंट कीपी अकाउंट एंड बैक टू द क्लाइंट इफ ट्रेड इज नॉट अप. सो व्हाट हैपेंस इज करंटली अगर यूसीसी डिटेल नहीं दिया है, अर्ली पेन होता है, बैलेंस ब्लॉक होता है, पेन के टाइम में क्लाइंट को चला जाता है. So this point also basically I need to highlight. So just imagine a situation where in a early paying transaction UCC details is provided and in a second possibility UCC details are not provided. So let us say UCC details are not provided. So what happens? Balance block हो जाता है client के account में. Since UCC details are not provided, that transaction is not matched with the CC obligation, but remains blocked in the client account, and on paying day that quantity is debited from the client account, and then subsequently as a part of paying process it gets reported to CC as a pay. And then वहां पे then CC का processing में वो check होता है कि since this particular client or this particular member is not having the delivery obligation, that quantity is returned back to the member in his pool account as a excess pay. तो वो जो सिक्योरिटीज टी डे पे एग्जीक्यूट हुआ है, जो सिक्योरिटीज टी डे पे एग्जीक्यूट हो गया, वो क्लाइंट को पे आउट के बाद में मिलता है. बट अगर वो यूसीसी अगर देता है क्लाइंट, so on T day itself basically since there is no obligation which has taken place, तो same day पे वो reverse हो जाएगा. So basically client will be in a position to use the securities at an earlier stage. So that is also one of the better feature of this mandatory UCC details. Okay, then traded quantity will only be reported as paid. So there is a possibility that let us say कि client के account में 100 है. Now he intends to trade entire 100 quantity. So उसने early pay करके रखा 100 quantity, but during the trading hours, maybe his broker or is able to trade only for 50 quantity. So although 100 का early pay दिया है, 50 का trade हुआ है. So at the end of the T day, जब CC चेक करेगा 50 का है, so 50 का quantity खाली block continue हो जाएगा, 50 quantity free हो जाएगा. So again, this will also be taken care by the system. Okay, so excess block will become free in the client account. Then as I have told, this block mechanism facility is currently optional, which will be made mandatory effective from 17th September. So how it will be implemented? So it will be implemented by client required to give the UCC details mandatory in the DIs. अगर POA clients है तो broker को वो जो भी transactions upload करेंगे, so they will be required to upload those transactions with the UCC details. Okay, so allow transfers early pay in intra as well as interdepository. So early pay in within CDSL भी हो सकता है, interdepository भी हो सकता है. So वहाँ पे UCC details provide करना mandatory हो जाएगा. On market ये भी intra और interdepository. On market means client transferring the securities from his own account to the members pool account. तो ये भी intra and interdepository, यहाँ पे भी providing UCC details will be mandatory, and normal pay this even in this type of transaction also providing UCC details will be mandatory. Then one more thing, from 17th of September, what will happen is if in the transaction upload, if UCC details are not provided, so in that case, that transaction will not get considered for paying. So this is where member will be required to take utmost care. So उनका जो back office है, back office obviously UCC details properly updated रहेगा ही. So when they will upload the DP transactions, so proper UCC details they will be required to use while uploading the transactions. Okay, and as I have told कि जो transaction का quantity है, so that will be debited only if the transaction detail matches with the obligation details. So okay, so again this also blocking for matched EP transaction will continue till pay-in date. Okay, so this will be again made effective from 17 September. जो भी early pay transaction with UCC execute किया है, उसका जो blocking है, जो currently भी T date तक चालू है, but then ये pay-in day का morning तक block continue रहेगा, and at the time of pay-in, which will be debited from the client account, and it will be utilized against the member's pay-in obligation. Okay, so that's it. And basically there are some communiques which we have issued. So communique numbers I have mentioned 156, 185, etc. 335 of 2021. So in all these communiques, the detailed operational modalities is explained. So this is a general concept basically which I explained you. Now I think you must have got sufficient background, so we can take your queries, so that whatever queries have, which can be answered. So I'll be with Shelton also. So Shelton or myself will answer to your queries.
Great. Thank you very much, Prashantji, for this elaborate presentation. I'm sure there are a lot of clarifications and doubts members would have, but looking at your PPT also, a lot of clarity has been come over. So on that note, we will initiate the Q&A session. As requested members, please kindly raise your virtual hands and we'll take you one by one in. We request again that your hands are important to be raised. We would not be reading the Q&A part on the chat box, please. So we begin. And Prashantji, you can stop share, sir. Yes.
Yeah.
Prashantji, just to put things in perspective, from as I heard you speak, Uttam Bagri here.
Yeah.
So let's talk about DDPI.
Huh.
So now, going ahead, we there is an old POA.
Hmm.
Okay. In
Mhm.
old POA, we are permitted to do everything, whatever the POA says.
Yeah.
The moment a person comes and say, "You boss, here are DDPI,"
Hmm.
and that goes in the system,
Hmm.
the old POA will stop being effective for the purpose of settlements and margin pledge.
Correct. Correct.
But it will continue to be effective for the other tender offers and all?
Yes, absolutely, sir. Absolutely.
Perfectly. Okay. Now, this is all the clients up till 31st August.
Yes.
From 1st September, nobody can come with a new POA. It's not allowed for these two things. So,
Yeah.
for after the 1st September, if somebody comes, he has to come with two documents, yellow DDPI for part A stuff and yellow POA for part B stuff.
Perfect.
Okay? And both will get registered. So this is what will to happen. Fine.
Yes.
Now let's move to actual execution. Suppose there's a broker who loads a file in easy. So stepping back, whenever a broker registers POA in the CDSL DP system, there is something called a POA ID. Correct? Which is unique for that broker.
Correct.
Now we will also have something called a DDP ID.
Correct.
Each broker will have one DDP ID, and each Wispy, please wait.
Yes, I muted it. Yes.
So each broker will, apart from his POA ID, he will also have a DDP ID.
Correct.
So DDP ID. So that is what happened. Now this POA ID and DDP ID, both of them will be mapped to the easiest system automatically, or we have to do something?
No. So basically, when client will give this DDPI to his DP, okay, so DP will be required to link this DDPI ID with the demat account by way of BO upload modification.
Yeah, that is correct. And so whenever a client comes to this authorization will be given by the client to the broker, and broker gives to DP, or the client will give to DP?
No, so basically client client will give authorization to the broker, but
and broker will go to the DP. Na boss, ye mere 20 client ka note karo.
Yeah.
That will be a sequence.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So
correct.
Now when I go to a broker, go to my DP ki boss, ye 20 client ne mujhe authorization diya hai, please aap isko map karo. When the broker is mapping it, he'll probably map it to my DDP ID, which is created, the master DDP, whatever it is called. Just a master PO ID, a master D ID. Let's call it that for the lack of a better word. Now that my master PO ID is mapped to my easiest login as a broker. Correct?
Yeah.
Similarly, this master DDP ID also needs to be mapped to my easiest login as a broker.
Yes, correct.
Will it be automatic, or is it a process I need to do?
No, you will be required to map that. It will not be automatic.
So this will be okay. So this again, my DP will do it.
Yes, your DP will do it. Correct.
But that will be a one-time activity.
Yes.
Okay. In case tomorrow, I believe we have made representations which is being covered, discussed at SEBI also. And suppose they relent and they come out say, okay, ठीक है, तुम्हारा AB, this even tender for I'm ready to move to A. So then everything will become normal, right?
Correct. So basically, all execution will happen based on only a single document.
If regulator permits, then probably will make the system changes as assumed.
Correct.
Okay. Finally, one thing you said, for the moment a DDPI gets registered inside, the POA stops working. That POA ID is visible for those two things.
Right.
Right. One thing that did not get discussed is in case of margin trading funded stocks. Is it a part of A or B as per CDSL as on today?
Actually, I will be required to get back. Whatever I discussed, that is discussed for the margin pledge transactions, and not the margin funding pledge transactions.
So margin funding is two parts. One is collateral. Collateral is definitely covered. Second is funded stocks. Funded stocks where we need clarity.
Correct.
Okay. Finally, one more question on DDPI about funding. of power of attorney or stamping.
Mhm.
So that SEBI circular says stamp duty as applicable.
Yes.
So if I have opinion stamp duty is not applicable, will CDSL take action against me in the inspection?
Yeah, it will be treated as a non-compliance.
It will be, so I have to, so whether or not it's applicable, CDSL current standards, it is applicable. That's
Yes. Correct.
So all of us have to frank as per the state in which it is executed.
Right, sir. Yes.
Okay. These are all the points on DDPI which I've just kind of summarized, which I've understood from this presentation.
Yeah.
In fact, okay. Now let's come to early paying.
Yeah.
Early paying may, even today, we have an option to append the UCC in the early paying records that we put in. Okay, which is optional. So either there are two ways of doing early paying. Today, I do early paying when I load a file without the UCC. Then I upload another file to the claim corporation. Then they match and give us benefit.
Correct.
Alternatively, even today, I can load a file in Easiest, for example, with the UCC. Then I don't need to upload anything to the CC. If it मुझे credit मिल जाता है. This is the existing requirement, but going ahead, this will become compulsory, kind of.
Yes.
The वाला option हट जाएगा तो काम हट जाएगा. यहाँ तक ठीक. दूसरा, you have mentioned, sir, कि even if I do early paying, the early paying will happen. The CC will give me benefit, but the shares will not, the securities will not move till such time you get the obligation.
Yes.
So, so my understanding is, suppose my client does the early paying of 10,000 shares. So early paying will get credited. It will go to CC and I'll get full limit. Now, if the client sells 100, 500,000, jitna bechna hai bech, up to 10,000, CC will not charge margin. And at the end of the day, out of jitna becha, suppose 5,500 becha, then 5,500 shares will move and 4,500 will get released in that fellow's account.
Correct.
This is what. So there will be a successful early paying, but there won't be a movement till such time the obligations are received from the claim corporation by you.
Perfect.
Okay, and everything has to everything has to be appended. And now, when we talk, now this is early paying. Suppose I want to do normal paying. Early paying is through early paying account, no problem. Normal paying may there's a movement to pool. So when I try to do movement to pool, suppose shares sold on Monday and early payers and normal payers Wednesday, suppose. So Wednesday morning the shares move from if client gives instruction transfer from here to from client account to broker pool account, it will move only if there is a obligation, otherwise it won't move.
Perfect, sir. Perfect.
And while giving the instruction, he has to mention the UCC in the DI slip?
Yes.
Or it is already part of the system?
Yeah, it is a part of system. Basically, it's a part of transaction upload.
So basically, all the UCCs which are already mapped inside. So suppose the client is dealing with 5 brokers. And all 5 UCCs are there in the system. When he gives the instruction, transfer to broker C. So punch करेंगे system में. और broker C यदि one of the 5 mapped है तो broker C में transfer हो जाएगा.
Correct.
So there is no checking of UCC, you are just checking relationship.
Yeah. Checking of is basically, so for example, in your example, there are 5 brokers basically to whom win client has UCC, and उसने अगर C broker का दिया है, so obviously वो C broker के साथ अगर trade हुआ है, and if transaction has come with the UCC details of broker C, then it will get matched and it will get debited only if there exists an obligation.
If one broker has allotted 2 UCCs, though it is not allowed, suppose कर दिया. Okay. In fact, in exceptional cases actually allowed. So which UCC will you map it to? Or
so in this case, in case of CDSL, so basically we take UCC upfront from client or broker.
I'm talking about this. When is the situation, client comes to a DP with a delivery instruction slip. कि भैया ये मेरे broker के pool में transfer कर दे. Does he need to mention the UCC in that DI slip?
Yes.
So has the DI slip, I'm not sure, sir, I'm asking you, does the DI slip have this option today to put a UCC somewhere?
No. Currently, so basically what we have advised is basically they can attach the annexure for UCC details. So duly signed annexure,
Okay, either you attach the annexure. Can they write on the slip on the side and just sign?
Yeah, they can.
मतलब एक नया paper क्यों लगा?
Yes,
तो फिर भी रिमार्क कॉलम ऊपर नीचे लेफ्ट में कोने में UCC so and so and sign. ऐसे कर.
Yes.
Okay.
And
So,
very soon it will be a part of DIS also. That is under.
Sir, खाली इतने के लिए DIS चेंज करोगे? चलो ठीक है सर, आपकी इच्छा. But point is, unless there are 5-6 changes coming together, please don't, because if you change the DIS list, we'll have to send the new DIS to everyone. There are 2 sets of DIS in the system. Well, you can mention, we can mention an Excel or some, he can mention the form, or broker may add a column, or the DP may add a column. Please don't change the DIS format, but I'll leave it to you. I'm sure.
But even if we change the DIS, sir, so we'll allow, we may allow to use the old DIS also. I mean,
it will be forever, na? It's a नहीं कि 6 महीने में change करो, साल भर में change करो, ऐसा मत करना sir.
ठीक है. We'll.
It's a feedback. So
yeah, we take your suggestion.
Often say this webinar is a feedback that a knowledge we get from you and some feedback we give to you.
Yeah, point taken, sir. Point noted, sir. Yeah.
Okay, so these were my points. I tried to summarize my understanding, so that it becomes a bit more smoother. Yeah. Good.
That basically, I mean, I realized that I had left certain things which you basically briefed.
Sir, आप system creator, हम system user हैं, हमको बहुत पता है. Anyway, that's my only point. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Uttamji. Dipanji, your question, please. Dipanji, your question.
Yeah, thank you for hosting this webinar. It was most informative. Just one question I have regarding block mechanism.
Yes.
Do we have to undertake linking of or inserting the UCC data in the CDSL master in CDAC?
Sorry, actually, maybe I've not understood the question. So the question is
that how we are putting bank details and we are putting power of attorney and we are putting nominee details when we are creating a particular client or existing client. In the same way, do we have to also put the UCC, the unique client code as well in CDSL's system in the master?
So Depan, many UCCs is auto-populated. As soon as you do please correct me if I'm wrong, Prashantji.
Yeah.
If you are a broker, and if you do a UCC with BSE or NSE, then that data flows from the exchanges directly to the depository, and depository just automatically puts all the UCCs inside. Okay.
Yes.
Number one. Number two, if even after that the client has an option to go to the DP and boss, kitne UCC hai, isko delete kar do. So he can delete it. The client can delete it. And third is client can also go to the DP and say, client goes to DP and say, is broker ka ye UCC make me co-host, please. So even that is possible, Deepan. But currently 99.9% UCCs come automatic.
Okay.
Based on plan number. So for example, Deepan is my client. So Deepan becomes the client of Uttam. And Uttam does the UCC of Deepan. It will go to exchange. Action is sent to both the depositories. Both the depositories will look for every account of Deepan all over the depository system. Suppose you have 10 demat accounts. In all 10 demat accounts, the UCC will get seeded.
That's my question. Thank you.
Am I right, Prashantji?
Yeah, absolutely correct. 100%.
अच्छा Prashantji, इस पे एक question है. Suppose now Deepan भाई का ऐसे 10 seed हो गया. Now in my system, I close Deepan's UCC and mark it as closed. Will the seeding go away automatically? I have to get it manually removed.
No, so basically in this case, what happens is, जैसे for example, Deepan is a client. For example, they have not traded for last, let us say, 12 months.
Yes.
So then वो exchange के पास से वो D-link के लिए आता है. So this is one of the possibility जहाँ पे वो deactivate हो जाता है.
So basically, if I mark Deepan as inactive,
yes,
it will get delinked.
Yes, correct.
And then I mark him active, he'll get linked again.
Yes.
But
provided that UCC will again come from exchange to deposit.
So that's very dangerous. कहीं भी आपका रिको हुआ ना गड़बड़, तो कहीं जो बंद हो गया ना और वापस चालू करते तक there'll be some RICO issues. But ठीक है, it's a teething problem. We'll live with it. Okay. Deepan, but I hope that you answered this question. Your question answered.
Yes, my question is answered. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Deepan.
Uttam, so may I go ahead?
Yes, right.
Yes, please go ahead.
Vijayji, your question, please. Vijay Kumar ji. Rohit ji, your question, please.
Hello.
Yes.
Sir, in case of block mechanism, अगर मैं only TM हूँ, तो basically मैं TM हूँ,
रोहित जी आपका वॉइस क्रैक हो रहा है.
अभी
Mahesh ji, your question, please.
Hi, Mahesh here from
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah, myself
Yes.
Mahesh from Finance. Actually, I have two queries. First is related to DDPI. So about DDPI, we are using ACS. So let's say a new client comes and he wants to keep the POA for the tender offer and all, and he is also taking the DDP. So in that scenario, if I map the DDPI POA ID as well as the POA normal POA ID, so will my early pay transaction for tender offer as well as the normal early pay, will that work in ACS?
Yeah, it will work. Only thing what you will be required to do, Mahesh ji, when you want to execute early pay transaction for, let us say, cash market settlement, you will be required to use the DDPI POA ID. And if you want to execute tender offer early pay transaction, so in that case, you will be required to use the POA ID ka master POA ID.
But sir, can this be put in the same file, or it will be two separate files?
That's what I'm asking. For example, both the POA IDs are mapped, and that single client is a part of both the POA ID. Okay. Now in TM login, both the master POA ID are mapped. Now will I able to execute both the transaction, let's say at the same time, or maybe in a span of time?
No. In a single file, you will be allowed. The reason being, as I have explained in the presentation, प्रोवाइडिंग फॉर एग्जांपल वो जो मास्टर पीओ आईडी है, मतलब डीडीपीआई का जो आईडी है, आपको अपलोड में मेंशन करना पड़ेगा.
No, that's what I'm saying. We are going to map that. See, that single client will be a part of both the POA ID. That is one normal POA and the other will be DDPI POA. So if I update in the CM login, so then will I able to execute both the type of transaction?
Yes.
Will I have an... Okay.
You will be allowed to. So what will happen is, basically, let us assume that client wants to execute both the types of early payment transaction. One for tender offer, one for normal settlement. So for normal settlement, for that row, you will be using the PO ID of DDPI. And for tender offer, you will be using the master PO ID. Okay. So currently that is not, when transaction comes through CM's easiest login, providing master PO ID is not required. But it will be required once this is implemented. So that is what. Yeah.
You will to say going forward, once it is live, we need to mention the POA ID in that my transaction file.
Correct. So that is what we have mentioned in our latest communique.
Okay, fine. Now my second question
Very
is...
good point, Mahesh. Very good point.
Second point is related to the block mechanism. So what about the Qna? Because Qna account stock, like broker has a Qna account where we keep aside the debit client stock. So in that regard, every day we are doing early pay. So against that, client is selling the stock from Qna account. So as of now, like we don't put the UCC in the transaction file. So now going forward, if I put the UCC code, will that help me in not to upload the UCC code, and also it will benefit me in the other way, that is margin benefit, as well as the pickup stock that you said on the same day. If it is like, if I'm mentioning the UCC code, if there is a transaction doesn't happen, like he square ups the client square ups the transaction, then the on the T days stock will get unblocked. So will that the same mechanism will happen for the Qna stock also? Same treatment will be there?
Yeah. So basically, from Qna there are two possibilities. Either client pays you and then you want to transfer the securities to the client. So when you will transfer from Qna to client account, you will be allowed to mention the UCC details of the client. Okay. So when you will mention the UCC details, it will match with the obligation details.
That is fine, sir, but it is not actually practically possible, because if client is selling the stock, so ultimately before, like once the trade file gets uploaded, we don't have that much time to check the debit and transfer to client. So what we do is that as per mechanism.
So that is what my second point is. That is what.
Okay.
Yeah, that is what. I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir. Yes, that is what my second point is. If you have sold the securities on behalf of client because he has not paid, so generally what you must have been doing is you will be transferring from Qna account to a pay-in account. So in case of BAC, it must be your principal account, correct?
Right.
So even there also, you will be allowed to mention the UCC details of the client.
Okay.
And then those details, so you will be mentioning the UCC details and the settlement ID details. So it will get matched with the obligation details. And then only the transfer will be allowed.
But both, if I upload that for Qna also, will I get both the benefits? That is, one is the I don't have to upload the allocation file to exchange. Then other way is like if there is excess or something, then there is a square up. Then the transaction will get automatically. So that benefit will be there, right?
Yeah. So basically, what you will be required to do, there will be two types of transaction here. One, you will be required to take the securities to the principal account first. Okay.
Right.
And from there, you will be required to initiate early payment transaction. Again, giving the details of UCC.
Right. Right.
But,
so I have to upload
actually,
the UCC only for when I'm doing early pin from Qna to exchange. So that time only I have to mention the UCC, right?
So currently, I mean, it's a good point that this may be, I will explore this possibility whether from Qna account, whether early paying can be incorporated so that one leg of transaction can be saved.
So it will be too easier for us.
Yeah, we'll explore that possibility, sir.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mahesh. Gaganji, your question, please.
Sir, this is I'm calling from Yes Bank custody team. Sir,
Yeah.
Is this circular actually applicable to the custodians also? Because custodians like we function on a slightly different scale. So is it applicable to the custodians also?
No, it will not be applicable to the custodial clients.
Okay, so the custodial clients, they will continue to do the early paying using the current mechanism? Custodian?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Sir, and just one small query is there. So custodians also onboard portfolio manager.
Sorry.
You lost the voice.
Gaganji?
Yes, sir. Sir. So I'm saying is that custodians also have PMS clients. Now these PMS clients, they move securities from their end client to their pool account, and from their pool account to the custodian's pool account. So in this case, when they are moving the securities from the end client account to the PMS pool account, in that case, is UCC and all these fields a mandatory requirement?
No, PMS transactions will not be a part of this requirement.
Okay, so the movement between the PMS pool and the end client account will not be part of this requirement.
Yes, correct. So basically, custodial client transaction and PMS transactions are not part of this requirement as of now.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, sir.
Jignesh, your question, please. Jignesh, Rohit, your question, please.
Sir, तो currently मेरा जो क्वेरी है ना वो ब्लॉक मैकेनिज्म के रिगार्डिंग है.
हाँ सर.
हाँ, करंट सिनेरियो हम लोग एज अ टीएम है कैश सेगमेंट में भी. तो अभी करंट सिनेरियो में क्या करते हैं, क्लाइंट जब भी सेल करता है तो उसके यहाँ से क्लाइंट के यहाँ से शेयर ट्रांसफर करते हैं अपने पूल में, टीएम के पूल में, वहां से ट्रांसफर करते हैं सीएम के पूल में. तो ब्लॉक मैकेनिज्म में फिर ये इफेक्ट कैसा आप देंगे?
So basically, you use two transfers, one from client to TM pool and the another from TM pool to CM pool. CM pool,
right, sir.
So ये case में basically because we'll be receiving obligation from using the CM
member. Right.
Sir, Rohit, give me some time. Maybe offline I will call you because I don't have answer to this question at the moment.
Okay. And
I need to clarify.
Query regarding. Okay, sir.
I understood your question. Yeah, I understood your question. So I will answer you this separately. I mean, you can call me offline, and yeah.
Rohit, these are the questions which really bring a smile on our face. These are those red. Okay, am I हो जाता है, अरे यार ये तो सोचा नहीं, let me get back on that.
Correct.
सही है. But it is so important. ये जिस दिन implement होता है उसका ये problem आने से पहले से जो flag हो जाता है. So it becomes up to the MI to plan. They think of everything, but there are a couple of things which it doesn't, उनको भी strike नहीं करता. Because again, having a PCM in cash market is very rare, Rohit bhai.
Right.
Right.
This is a very valuable suggestion. Actually, it's good that this is raised at this moment because we still have sufficient time. So
yeah.
We are good.
Vijay ji, your question, please.
Hello.
Hello.
हाँ सर, सेकंड क्वेश्चन DDPI के रिगार्डिंग था. सो बेसिकली जितने लोग के लिए मेरे को DDPI के लिए अलग से फॉर्म लेना पड़ेगा या वो इनफ रेट में DDPI?
शायद मैं का क्वेश्चन ठीक से समझा नहीं, ब्रो आवाज का ब्रेक हो रहा था.
जो एग्जिस्टिंग क्लाइंट है ना मेरे, उनके लिए DDPI का जो मैंने मास्टर PID क्रिएट किया है,
तो 31 अगस्त तक जो भी क्लाइंट है जिन्होंने जो आपके पास हैं उनसे DDPI लेना ऑप्शनल है. इट इज नॉट कंपलसरी. 1 सितंबर जो भी नए क्लाइंट बनेंगे उनसे DDPI लेना कंपलसरी है. मतलब उनके लिए PO लेने का ऑप्शन नहीं है. DDPI लेना नहीं लेना आपकी इच्छा.
अच्छा सर, सेकंड ये ऑनलाइन DDPI मतलब उसको ऑनलाइन स्टैम्प कैसे कर पाएंगे? मतलब उसका कुछ जैसे कि अभी उसको डिजिटली साइन तो हम लोग करेंगे क्लाइंट ऑनलाइन में, तो उसको इम्प्लीमेंट कैसे कर पाएंगे?
आई थिंक सम ब्रोकर्स आर डूइंग इट बट आई एम नॉट श्योर हाउ दे डू.
क्योंकि ये तो अपनी
प्रशांत जी, इज इट आर देयर प्रोसेसेस इन इंडिया वेयर स्टैम्प ड्यूटी कैन बी पेड ऑनलाइन ऑन एग्जीक्यूटिव डॉक्यूमेंट्स?
No sir, I'm not
तो रोहित भाई सवाल नोट किया गया. We'll get back on that.
Sorry.
There's no answer to this question either right now, but it has been noted.
Yeah.
Shashank ji, your question, please. Shashank ji. Vijay Kumar ji, your question, please. Vijay Kumar ji. Apurva ji, your question, please.
I have a simple question. My clients transfer shares from Easiest to my pool account. Now going forward, will the software the Easiest capture the UCC when he transfers it to my pool account, or do I need to make some more changes in the Easiest login?
Do you pull the shares or the client pushes it?
The client pushes it.
Okay, so basically client is having his Easiest login and he wants to transfer the securities to your pool account.
Right.
Yeah, so currently basically in the online data entry screen, this providing UCC detail option is not there, but with this release it will be made available to the client.
So will he have to choose anything, or will automatically choose based on the broker where he's transferring it to?
Basically that drop down list will be made available, so you'll be required to select.
Oh, he'll have to select. Okay.
Yeah.
Second question. So he transfers the shares to my pool account. It comes with his UCC. I want to do early paying of those shares from my pool account to my early paying account. That means the UCC of those shares will have to match in my early paying instructions. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
Okay,
correct.
fine. And then when in case out of the say 10,000 shares, only 5,000 gets sold, it gets blocked, they will get unblocked in my pool account of that client.
Correct.
Because the shares have got transferred to me.
Correct. Because
right? Then I have to transfer it back to the client at the end of the day.
Correct. Sir.
Right? Okay, thank you.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Rakesh ji, your question, please.
Hello, sir. Actually, my question is related to this custodian perspective only. This DDPA and UCC is not mandatory for custodian, right?
DDPI, yeah. So basically this, that is not mandatory. That is basically not applicable for custodians.
Okay.
Whatever POI guidelines are, basically POI guidelines are not applicable for custodial clients. So similar So same guidelines will be followed for DDPI.
Acha, okay. Because what will normally we used to also have the normal power of attorney. Specific power of attorney is there. We'll use it for our PMS clients, and then we used to do this transactions actually, early payment transaction and all. So for this DDPI concept, then this won't be applicable,
For maybe actually I have not understood your question properly. So basically, you're talking about custodial clients, correct?
Yes, exactly. Custodian client where
So
the
for
PMS
custodial clients, this DDPI concept is not applicable.
Okay. Thank you.
So basically, custodial clients may not give this UCC details or whatever details, and those will not get matched with the obligation details.
Right, exactly. Okay.
Paresh ji, Kotak, your question, please.
सर हमारा DDPI रिलेटेड क्वेश्चन है.
हाँ बोलिए सर.
सपोज फ्रॉम 1 अगस्त अभी कोई क्लाइंट का अर्ली पे इन आया सर, ठीक है, हमने EasyS में अपलोड किया तो उसमें DDPI मास्टर POID मतलब क्लाइंट का होना चाहिए, राइट, फ्रॉम 1 अगस्त फॉर न्यू क्लाइंट्स.
हाँ, DDPI ID ब्रोकर का होगा सर.
हाँ मतलब ब्रोकर का. अभी सपोज का कोई सर एग्जिस्टिंग क्लाइंट है, उसका तो POID आएगा ना.
करेक्ट.
तो सिस्टम में ऑटोमेटिकली पॉपअप करेगा या क्या उसका अलग से कॉलम रहेगा सर फॉर एग्जिस्टिंग क्लाइंट का?
नहीं, वो आपको मेंशन करना पड़ेगा ना सर. अपलोड में POID का प्रोविजन है, तो अगर एग्जिस्टिंग क्लाइंट वाला है तो POID आएगा, अगर न्यू क्लाइंट का है तो DDPI का ID आएगा.
ओके, तो सिस्टम वैसे कैप्चर कर लेगा ना सर. हमको मतलब उसके रिलेटेड कोई चेंजेस नहीं करना है, राइट?
आपको करना पड़ेगा ना सर. आपका जब अपलोड फाइल बनेगा आपका बैक ऑफिस के थ्रू,
ओके,
तो वो बैक ऑफिस के थ्रू अपलोड फाइल जो ट्रांजैक्शन आएगा उसमें POID यानी कि DDPI ID का प्रोविजन करना पड़ेगा.
राइट, वो तो कर देंगे सर, वो तो कर देंगे. ठीक
सर, मेरा एक क्वेरी था.
यस सर.
फिजिकल डिलीवरी हम लोग करते हैं, जैसे हम लोग सेल्फ क्लियरिंग नहीं है, हम लोग किसी दूसरे ब्रोकर के थ्रू क्लियरिंग करते हैं. तो उस केस में हम लोग स्टॉक को अपने पूल में लेते हैं और पूल से फिर जिस क्लियरिंग को देना है उधर देख के वहां से पेन लगता है. तो उस केस में क्या होगा?
नहीं, तो बेसिकली यू एज अ क्लाइंट आप ट्रांसफर करते हो, कौन से अकाउंट में ट्रांसफर करते हो?
सर मैं ब्रोकिंग हूँ और मेरा क्लियरिंग सपोज ICICI से होता है फिजिकल डिलीवरी का.
ओके.
FNO का जो क्लियरिंग होता है वो हम लोग का ICICI से होता है. तो उस केस में हम लोग जो क्लाइंटों का जो स्टॉक जो सेल होता है उसको हम लोग अपने पूल में लेते हैं. पूल में लेके ICICI का CMB ID में हम लोग ट्रांसफर कर देते हैं. वहां से फिर वो पेन चला जाता है. उस केस में क्या करेंगे? TM पूल मैटर.
हाँ, तो एक्चुअली ये अर्लियर वाला भी एक क्वेश्चन था ना सिमिलर.
तो सर एक चीज बताइए, आप अपने कैश मार्केट के पूल अकाउंट में लेते हैं?
यस सर.
तो कौन से सेटलमेंट नंबर में लेते हैं?
फिजिकल सेटलमेंट में लेते हैं.
Okay, so this is slightly different. The previous case was TM in the cash segment. This is a TM in the FO segment, sir. So in case of TM, a person who is a TM in the FO segment but sell claim member in the cash segment, he is taking the securities from the client in his cash pool account.
The pool account is for cash.
हाँ, वो कैश मार्केट का जो पूल अकाउंट है उसके अंदर अपने FNO के शेयर लेके आगे भेजते हैं.
जी हाँ सर.
प्रशांत जी, this also needs
ठीक है. I need to check this. Maybe sir, I mean we can have an offline discussion. I will understand your query and then I will provide you.
सर एक और क्वेरी है. हम लोग का जैसे SLV में ट्रेड, मैक्सिमम ट्रेड हम लोग SLV में करते हैं.
Okay.
हम लोग के पास क्लाइंटों का SLV का ट्रेड होता है. उस केस में क्या होगा सर? उसमें हम लोग को UCC एलोकेट करने का जरूरत नहीं रहता है. इफेक्ट ऑटोमेटिक आ जाता है. सपोज आज मैंने 1000 शेयर रिलायंस के लैंड कर दिए, तो लैंड करने के बाद हम लोग सिर्फ वो अर्ली पेन कर देते हैं उसका, तो ऑटोमेटिक उसका इफेक्ट आ जाता है. उसके लिए मुझे कोई डेडिकेटेड मतलब फाइल डालना नहीं पड़ता है अर्ली पेन का.
ओके.
उस केस में क्या होगा?
SLB का सर एक्चुअली फॉर दिस आल्सो आई विल रिवर्ट बैक सर. SLB का
और ये तो दो मैटर है ना, क्योंकि अगर आपने किसी का DDPI एग्जीक्यूट कर दिया और फिर वो SLB की ट्रेड नहीं हुई तो सर T1 में ही तो ये सेकंड डे ही तो पेन होता है इसका और बहुत बड़ी ह्यूज पेनल्टी होती है.
नहीं ठीक है सर. So basically you do one thing sir. Can you just I mean we of course will speak separately.
Forum actually Prashant bhai, BBF team, after webinar we go through the entire webinar and note down all the questions. We'll send you a summary of the queries raised.
Yeah, I think
but tell me something in case of SLBM. There are two parts. One, is SLBM covered in DDPI? My guess is yes, because it is a settlement transaction, right? Settlement paying?
Yes.
So there are two aspects to this question. Number one is in case of SLBM, is it part A or part B? Okay, this is question number one. Question number two is what are the UCC implications of this SLBM paying? एक सवाल में दो सवाल छुपे हैं सर.
Yeah. So basically, I need to check whether we receive these obligation details from SLB. If we are receiving, then it will be a similar kind of process which we maybe currently following for cash settlements. So I will check and confirm that. So right now,
okay, sir. I'm Sir Sankshekhar from AUM Capital. So please revert back.
Yeah, definitely, sir. Definitely.
Okay.
Ashokji, your question, please.
Yes, sir. I have two questions, sir. One, that the DDPI जो POID बनाया, that is okay. But can we maintain two POID for the old POA and for the new POA for the same clearing member? So ऐसा possible है क्या? दो POID create कर ले ताकि by which we can identify in our back office.
Just जानकारी के लिए.
Sorry?
ऐसा आप क्यों करना चाहेंगे?
सर उसमें एक्चुअली क्या है कि ओल्ड पीओआईडी में नंबर ऑफ डीपीज, क्योंकि मार्जिन ट्रेडिंग वाला भी था, मार्जिन फंडिंग भी था, तो हम नए वाले पीओआईडी में नंबर ऑफ डीपीआईडी कम हो जाएंगे क्योंकि सेपरेट हो गया. तो जो पेइन का और मार्जिन प्लेस का है वो अलग हो जाएगा. बाकी जो पीओआईडी लेटेस्ट रहेगा उसमें जो मेरा कॉर्पोरेट एक्शंस और उसके लिए अलग हो जाएगा. तो वी कैन मेंटेन टू पीओआईडी अगर पॉसिबल है तो.
सर आज के तारीख में भी प्रशांत जी एंड प्लीज एंड शेल्टन प्लीज ऐड टू दिस. इवन टुडे वी कैन हैव मल्टीपल पीओआईडीज अक्रॉस डीपीआईडीज. फॉर एग्जांपल डीपीआईडी 1 में आपका पीओआईडी है, डीपीआईडी 2 में आपका एक पीओआईडी है, डीपीआईडी 3 में आपका पीओआईडी है. All those three POIDs is mapped to your easiest login and you can use it to pull shares from any of these places. Now within the same DP, can you have more than one POID for the same broker? है ना? ये अशोक ये सवाल है.
Yes.
So
it will have na, sir, because because for example a broker wants to service the client for both the type of transactions. यानी कि म्यूचुअल फंड के लिए भी सर्व करना है एंड कैश के लिए भी करना है. So obviously there will be two IDs create होगा broker के लिए. One a POID will be used for mutual fund and tender offers transactions, and the another one would be for settlement and margin place transactions. So there will be two IDs created.
So Prashant, we are talking about three IDs here. One is old, you know, Ashok ji?
Yeah, one for the DDPI जो आपने सेपरेट किया वो नया ऑप्शन है. सेकंड है कि हम 1 सितंबर से जो नया पीओ एक्टिवेट हो रहा है, वी नीड ए सेपरेट पीओ आईडी. तो वो एक क्लियरिंग मेंबर के लिए और वो इजिएस्ट में अलाउ हो सकता है क्या? क्योंकि हम एज ए सिस्टम से आइडेंटिफाई करते हैं.
तो प्रशांत भाई मैं फिर रिपीट करता हूँ, 31 दिसंबर तक जितना भी पीओ है, दैट इज पीओ आईडी नंबर 1. 1 सितंबर से जो भी डीडीपीआई आए, दैट्स एन आईडी नंबर 2. 1 सितंबर से जो भी वो स्पेसिफिक छोटा सा पीओ आया for छोटे काम, that is PO ID number 3. If I do that process in my office, तो मुझे भी एक कंट्रोल रहता है, ध्यान रहता है, ये मिक्सचर नहीं होता, कंफ्यूजन नहीं होता. यदि मैं करूं तो is there any restriction in the easier system? Because currently even today as a clearing member, I have a different PO ID for every DPID. Correct? So sir, for my office, for example, I have 7 POIDs because historically we had many DPIDs. So if we have that, वो तो सातों mapped है, but they are all in separate DPIDs. Now within the same DPID, anyway we are having 2 because of DDPI and POA. Can it be 3, 4, 8? Is there any system restriction?
No, even this also will revert, sir. I will actually.
Ashok ji, मैं सवाल सही समझा ना?
Yes, correct, sir. Correct.
हाँ.
Sir, my another question is that in our system, some clients are having UCC with only BSE. और हमारा जो पेन होता है सर NSCCL से होता है, तो उसमें मेरा जो क्लाइंट ले जो सेल्स करेगा बीएससी यूसीसी जाएगा, क्योंकि क्लाइंट एनएससी में राइट्स नहीं है, उसका एनएससी में अकाउंट नहीं खुला।
सर एक तो टीएम आईडी होता है और एक सीएम आईडी होता है,
लेकिन इसमें सर सेगमेंट कोड भी जाएगा, क्योंकि क्लाइंट का यूसीसी एनएससी नहीं है।
जो भी उसमें एक तो टीएम लिंकिंग होता है, एक सीएम लिंकिंग होता है ना, टीएम। हाँ, तो बेसिकली सीएम काम का है।
ओके,
आप समझिए, बिकॉज आजकल तो बीएससी एनएससी इंटर ऑफ आ गया।
यस यस दैट्स राइट।
तो प्रशांत, am I correct, प्रशांत भाई?
Yes, you are correct, sir.
हाँ, so basically for example मेरा एनएससी टीएम है, एनएससी आईडी है 1 2 3 4 5 और बीएससी एनएससी टीएम आईडी एंड मेरा बीएससी का टीएम आईडी 1, बट सीएम आईडी है 23 जो दोनों से साथ जुड़ा हुआ है। तो पूरी कहानी 23 से चल रही है। अब ये हो गया, ये नहीं भी हुआ तो आपका पेन नहीं अटकेगा।
ओके,
दिस इज माय अंडरस्टैंडिंग प्रशांत भाई।
लेकिन इसमें सर सेगमेंट भेजना है तो हम बीएससी भेजेंगे या एनएससी भेजेंगे? सेगमेंट इज आल्सो मैंडेटरी इन द फाइल फॉर्मेट।
सेगमेंट की एक्सचेंज,
सॉरी एक्सचेंज
तो बीएससी का ही आएगा ना सर, ऑल्दो बेसिकली मिस क्लाइंट का रजिस्ट्रेशन तो बीएससी के लिए हुआ है ना, करेक्ट?
करेक्ट, लेकिन हमारा जो पेन होता है वो एनसीसीएल से हो रहा है।
दैट इज ओके, दैट इज फाइन। सो बेसिकली जो यूसीसी वाला डिटेल जो आएगा सिस्टम में, सो दैट विल कम विद द एक्सचेंज आईडी ऑफ बीएससी।
ओके, और अगर क्लाइंट एनएससी बीएससी दोनों में है तो वी विल पास एनएससी ओनली, करेक्ट ना? अगर मैंने 100 रिलायंस बेचे हैं और एनएससी में 100 बीएससी में बेचे हैं तो आई कैन पास 200 रिलायंस थ्रू द एनएससी।
दोनों में से कोई भी यूज कर सकते हैं सर।
यस यस,
ओके,
यदि वो दोनों मैपिंग हो गए तो दोनों में से कोई भी कर सकते हो। सीएम और पैन से टैली होना चाहिए। एंड आई एम अज्यूमिंग कि आपके ऑफिस में हर ऑफिस की तरह बीएससी एनएससी भी अब यूसीसी सेम रखते हैं, ऐसा नहीं कि यहाँ
यस यस सेम है। यस,
जो ब्रोकर 2 एक्सचेंज में अलग यूसीसी रखता था हिस्टोरिकली, वो बहुत कंफ्यूज होने वाला है।
करेक्ट,
सेम है सर। थर्ड क्वेश्चन इज दैट कोई टाइमलाइन है सर यूसीसी मैपिंग का? इट्स 2 days 1 days क्लाइंट्स
यूसीसी। देखिए सर, एक्चुअली यूसीसी एज उत्तम सर एक्सप्लेन ना कि वो ऑटोमेटिक होता है, तो जैसे ही एक्सचेंज के पास से आ जाता है ना तो सिस्टम सेम डे पे हो जाता है, सो एक दिन में हो जाता है।
ओके, थैंक यू सर।
क्या होता है, एक्सचेंज है वो डिपॉजिटरी को भेजते रहता है। अब एक्सचेंज के फाइल में कुछ गड़बड़ हो तो डिपॉजिटरी कंफ्यूज हो जाती है। कभी-कभी आप देखोगे एक एक्सचेंज का हो रहा है, दूसरे एक्सचेंज का नहीं हो रहा, उनका प्रोसेस पता नहीं क्या, बहुत कंफ्यूजन है वैसे।
तो यहाँ पे कोई क्रॉस चेक मैकेनिज्म है क्या, कौन से यूसीसी नहीं हुआ है? मतलब ये कॉमन क्वेरी आती है कि कौन से यूसीसी डिपॉजिटरी ने मैप नहीं कर लिया या एक्नॉलेज नहीं कर लिए, सो दैट मेंबर को फिर ये जाके दिक्कत ना हो आगे जाके।
हाँ सर, मेरे भी केसेस आए हैं जिसमें यूसीसी नहीं था, मींस क्लाइंट्स एक्टिव क्रिएट कर रहे हैं और यूसीसी नहीं था, तो मैंने एक्सचेंज को मेल भेजा, अब जाके यूसीसी हुआ तो अपने रिको किया। सो देयर इज स्टिल सम मिसिंग ऑफ द डाटा डिपॉजिट यूसीसी।
तो ऑब्वियसली ना मिस बेसिकली एज अ डिपॉजिटरी अगर एक्सचेंज के पास से यूसीसी डिटेल्स नहीं आया है, सो हम वो मैप नहीं कर पाएंगे। सेकंड ऑप्शन इज बेसिकली क्लाइंट कैन गिव द यूसीसी डिटेल्स टू हिज डीपी अगर इनिशिएट भी करता है, सो unless and until we'll not receive that from exchange, we cannot match that and activate.
पॉइंट टेकन प्रशांत जी, पर उनका मेंबर का ये क्वेश्चन है कि मेंबर को कैसे पता लगेगा कि आपको एक्सचेंज से कौन सा नहीं आया? वो उसका ट्रांजैक्शन होने के बाद, वो फेल होने के बाद ही पता लगेगा या पहले पता लग सकता है उसको?
एक्चुअली ललित जी, तो लुकअप करना पड़ेगा फ्रॉम टाइम टू टाइम पूरा एक्सचेंज,
मतलब डेली या कैसे डेली बिजनेस कर रहे हैं, न्यू क्लाइंट्स एडिशन तो डेली हो रहे हैं ऐसे,
मतलब कोई कुछ तो अपने को रास्ता ढूंढना पड़ेगा। इसी
हाँ ठीक है,
डिपॉजिटरी के हाथ में नहीं है,
शॉर्टकट अवेलेबल है तो जान लेते हैं, अदरवाइज तो ठीक है।
जो एक्सचेंज देगा डिपॉजिट, जैसे अशोक जी भी बताए, जब उनका नहीं हुआ तो उन्होंने एक्सचेंज को ईमेल भेजा, तो एक्सचेंज ने कुछ किया, उसके डिपॉजिटरी में आ गया, राइट अशोक जी?
यस सर, एक्सचेंज का कंफर्मेशन आया कि दे हैव रीसेंट टू द डिपॉजिटरी,
तो ये एक्सचेंज से बात करनी पड़ेगी। चलो ठीक है,
ओके।
बट एनीवे मिस आपका ललित जी, आपका मैं देखता हूँ कुछ अगर ऐसा कुछ प्रोविजन है तो आई विल गेट बैक।
थैंक यू सर।
पंकज जी, योर क्वेश्चन प्लीज। पंकज जी। सोहेल जी, योर क्वेश्चन प्लीज। सोहेल जी।
हेलो।
हाँ जी।
हाँ जी, हमारा क्वेश्चन ये है कि अपना जो ई स्टैंपिंग करना रहेगा तो वो क्लाइंट डीडीपीआई ई साइन करेगा उसके पहले कर सकते हैं या उसके बाद भी कर सकते हैं? हेलो,
इसका जवाब आई थिंक प्रशांत भाई नहीं दे पाएंगे।
कंप्लायंस टीम को
सीडीएसएल में कंप्लायंस टीम एक ऑपरेशन टीम है, ये ऑपरेशंस वाले हैं, तो ये सवाल का जवाब इनके पास नहीं है। बट मुझे कुछ मेंबर्स के डायरेक्ट मैसेज आए थे, वो लोग ई स्टैंपिंग कर रहे हैं।
तो ई स्टैंपिंग जो करना है वो ई साइन करने से पहले करना है या उसके बाद भी कर सकते हैं?
सर पता करके बताते हैं सर, अभी इस सवाल का जवाब है नहीं।
ओके, और दूसरा एक क्वेश्चन ये था कि ब्लॉक मैकेनिज्म में जो यूसीसी डिटेल्स मैंडेटरी है वो म्यूचुअल फंड ट्रांजैक्शन के लिए भी रहेगा क्या?
म्यूचुअल फंड ट्रांजैक्शन के लिए नहीं रहेगा सर, क्योंकि म्यूचुअल फंड का जो ऑब्लिगेशन डिटेल सीसी के पास से नहीं आता है ना, सो इट विल नॉट बी फॉर म्यूचुअल फंड ट्रांजैक्शन।
म्यूचुअल फंड, ओके ओके, थैंक यू।
हाँ सर, am I audible? This is Nish from SCB. Hello, can I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So, sir, this is Amrish. अभी लेटेस्ट सर्कुलर जो सेबी ने इशू किया है 2022 का 109, जहाँ पे उन्होंने मैंडेटरी ब्लॉक मैकेनिज्म इज एप्लीकेबल फ्रॉम द 14 November is mentioned in the circular. So still CDSL CDSL is planning to go with the 17 September या फिर वो भी they will adopt for the 14 November as a mandatory date for the block mechanism.
As of now 17 September is the date. Okay, इसमें कुछ भी चेंज होता है तो then we'll let you know.
हाँ, because सेबी ने तो सर्कुलर इशू किया है, that's why I'm asking for.
But that is actually basically they have mentioned only for early paying transactions. So कुछ change होता है तो as I have said basically we'll let you know. I mean basically we'll issue the communique.
Okay, and as far as you mentioned earlier that annexure is available for the collecting the DIs, collecting the additional annexure UCC details from the client with the DIs.
Yeah.
But when client is coming at the last moment at the time of paying, this is creating the mess for the client. The client is not able to provide, holders are not available. So जो DIs का format आपने जैसे बोला कि आप changes करके दे रहे हो या फिर any other things we can do. So this will be create easy life for all, client as well as the DP.
We'll definitely do that. I mean sooner or later we'll have to do. But then वो annexure का फॉर्म में जैसा उत्तम सर ने बोला था कि DIs के पीछे वो UCC डिटेल्स लेके साइन करके that would be at the moment basically it would be an easier option.
पर उसमें क्या होता है यज्ञेश भाई, जो आई थिंक प्रैक्टिकल प्रॉब्लम बता रहे हैं कि सपोज एक क्लाइंट DIs लेके आया कि बॉस ये लीजिए, बोले बॉस UCC वाला उसका नेक्स्ट है, अब वो जॉइंट होल्डर है तो गए काम से, या उसने अपने आदमी को भेजा है, वापस जाएगा बॉस का साइन लेके वापस दौड़ के आएगा, है ना यज्ञेश भाई, दैट्स द प्रॉब्लम। हां, और पेन खत्म। तो in such a situation, the earliest you issue the, I'm not sure, have you formally issued this is the annexure format that has to be attached?
Yeah, we
it's
have
not issued.
No, it's not. They have issued the circular where they have content. It contains the what details are required from the client. So circular है, उसमें सिर्फ content what needs to be obtained from the client, वो सब mention है in CDSL circular.
But because usually a format issue कर दो तो आसान हो जाता है जिंदगी में सबके लिए, है ना यज्ञेश भाई, that's the point.
हाँ,
मतलब ये नया DIS है, पुराने DIS में ये annexure इस फॉर्मेट में, ये मॉडल फॉर्मेट है, सब कुछ दे दो तो अच्छा फॉर्मेट है, so everybody comes in the loop, otherwise everybody is in the learning process. और क्लाइंट को कहाँ लिखा है?
Correct. So we again take it this as a suggestion and maybe when next time.
Just a grievance.
And sir, another question is like for creation of the DDPI ID for the brokers, do we need to collect the same documents which we create, which we take for the creation of the PO ID, or there is anything additional to needs to be collected? जब DDPI ID बनाने के लिए
DDPI का वो फॉर्मेट है ना सर, वो कम्युनिक में मेंशन नहीं किया।
हाँ, फॉर्मेट है, बट जैसे दैट इज फ्रॉम क्लाइंट वी विल कलेक्ट, लेकिन जो ब्रोकर का DDPI जैसे PO ID बनाना है ब्रोकर का, तो हम लोग उससे बोर्ड रेजोल्यूशन सब डॉक्यूमेंट्स लेते हैं, पावर ऑफ अटर्नी से ऑथराइज्ड सिग्नेटरी लिस्ट वो सब लेते हैं फॉर क्रिएशन ऑफ द PO ID फॉर द ब्रोकर। वैसे DDPI ID जब बनाना है, अभी बनाने लेंगे या फिर जब भी आपका सिस्टम हो जाएगा, वी नीड टू क्रिएट फर्स्ट DDPI ID फॉर द ब्रोकर टू मैप टू द क्लाइंट। तो उसके लिए जो डॉक्यूमेंटेशन है वो इट विल बी सेम एज अ POA, उसमें कोई चेंजेस नहीं करना है।
Yeah, so logically now, basically, I mean, I'm not from compliance, but logically it should be the same set of documents which otherwise you must have taken for POA. You can confirm that with the compliance team, so that you also will not be having an issue.
Okay, so we'll check with the compliance team में किससे check करना है, कोई नाम या फिर कुछ सर?
सर अपना फारूक सर का टीम के साथ भी चेक किया तो चलेगा, लता मैडम फारूक.
Correct. Okay. Okay. And sir, the suggestion, I don't know how much you can take it, but already all UCC details are available in the CDSL system. So any specific reason that we are asking client or broker again to submit the UCC details? Can't we match from the CC obligation file, जो भी CC obligation में आते हैं UCC details? Can't we see whether it is available with the CDSL in that client already map है? तो हम लोग वहीं पे validate करके हम लोग नहीं ले सकते. मतलब this is just a question, interim question. I don't know how.
Actually ना, I mean, कोई account में वो multiple UCCs जो है ना link, so that might create a problem. So maybe once it happens कि वो multiple UCC creation वाला जो data shortlist हो जाएगा ना, so then maybe at that time we'll think whether we can implement that. So till now, even if there are multiple UCC linked to the Demat account, so when we are taking the UCC from client or from the broker, so that that process doesn't get stuck. Okay, so we'll take it as a suggestion, but then I think till now it's a good system to have, and nobody is having such issue. At least I have not received any query of such kinds.
Okay, and sir, how inter-depository transaction यहाँ पे treat होगा? जैसे जो आपने बोला कि system में block mechanism opt करोगे तो your stock will be blocked in your account till the SOD, start of the day of the paying day.
हाँ.
But inter-depository में treatment क्या मिलेगा और how अगर इस stock suppose broker is pulling the stock in the pool account, NSDL pool account from CDSL client. So वो कैसे treatment, उसका treatment क्या रहेगा?
As of now actually वो same day पे client account debit होके NSDL का pool account में create होता है as of now. Okay, but means with this release it will remain blocked in the client account only. Basically it will be like intra depository transfers. It will remain in the client account, and on paying day morning it will be debited from client account to NSDL pool account.
ओके सर, आपका एक सर्कुलर है 185, सर्कुलर नंबर 185.
हाँ.
उसमें पॉइंट ई जहाँ पे आपने बोला था, मतलब जहाँ पे सर्कुलर इज मेंशनिंग दैट एनी आईडी ईडीटी मतलब एनी इंटर डिपॉजिटरी ट्रांजैक्शन रिसीव्ड आफ्टर सीसीओबीएल अपलोड ऑफ बाय सीसी will be taken for a processing subject to dual matching of the IDT, that is matching of IDT with the corresponding PTM. अभी यहाँ पे PTM तो आपका आएगा नहीं because it is not processed through EDPM, तो pre trade mandatory requirement वहाँ पे pre trade mandate तो रहेगा नहीं. So what this meaning, what does this mean actually कि CCOBL के जो अपलोड टाइमिंग है या CC से जो ऑब्लिगेशन आना है उसके बाद अगर आप कोई IDT अपडेट करते हो तो वो आपका corresponding PTM से मैच होगा, बट PTM तो है नहीं इस केस में. So how what does this para mean?
Pre-trade mandate that is applicable for EDS clients.
Okay, for other than EDS it is not mandatory.
नहीं PTM मतलब pre-trade mandate जो है. So basically there is one additional check in case of EDS transaction, which is not there in case of block transactions.
Okay, and what is that? There is no. Is there first thing? Is there any timeline for obligation? मतलब what is the timeline to we can update the inter-depository transaction for this block mechanism post 1st August or something like that?
The timeline for inter-depository transactions means same day execution. Maybe
same day execution, sir.
Same day भी तो deadline है ना सर, वो जैसा.
तो जो डेडलाइन है वही रहेगा ना, मतलब जो डेडलाइन है वही रहेगा.
Yes.
Okay.
So obviously after that deadline अगर आपको इंटरडे ऑन मार्केट डालना है तो नेक्स्ट डे का एग्जीक्यूशन लेके डालना पड़ेगा.
नेक्स्ट डे का एग्जीक्यूशन लेके डालो. एंड just have a confusion because बहुत सारा DDP और POID पे बहुत सारा डिस्कशन हुआ अभी. So but still I have only one question, that if we want to continue, suppose client already have a POA with registered with us.
Okay.
And post 1st September say client coming in with the DDPI form and he is submitting the form DDPI. अभी DDPI में there are limitations that pay-in and margin transaction will happen only. Can we continue with the existing POA and new DDPI both in the system?
You can, but then what will happen ना sir कि ये the moment आपका DDPI ID create होके client account को link हो जाएगा ना, so then execution of settlement and margin place transaction will happen only through DDPI ID.
Correct.
Okay, and जो master POID वाला जो ID रहेगा, so that can be used for the mutual fund and tender offer transaction. Yeah.
So वो जो system development रहेगा वहाँ पे POID will be moved to DDPI ID, but POA can be, you can keep it existing POA as an active POA without touching it. Only the pay transaction, margin transaction will have a DDPI ID.
Correct. क्योंकि there could be some clients ना जिन्होंने authorization दिया है not only for settlement and margin pay transaction but also for tender offer and
correct. So new accounts also we need to take care where we can collect DDPI as well as the POID with a limited clauses or limited rights to the broker.
Correct.
Thanks. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for patiently answering my question. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
विपिन कुमार जी.
हेलो.
हाँ विपिन जी.
हाँ सर, मेरा क्वेश्चन था कि सपोज ए और बी, अभी सपोज इंटर डिपॉजिट या पूल अकाउंट में शेयर्स ट्रांसफर करना है, तो ए से बी के अकाउंट में जो शेयर्स हम ट्रांसफर करेंगे फॉर पेइंग पर्पस, तो उसमें यूसीसी किसका लिख के देना है? ए जो बी अकाउंट में पेइन है उनका यूसीसी ए के थ्रू लिख के देना है या बी का लिख के देना है?
नहीं बट सर ए मतलब क्लाइंट का अकाउंट है एंड बी मतलब
नहीं सपोज एक डिफरेंट ब्रोकर है एंड बी एक डिफरेंट ब्रोकर है. ओके, तो उसने
ब्रोकर टू ब्रोकर ट्रांसफर बोल रहे हो? ब्रोकर टू ब्रोकर?
हाँ, ब्रोकर टू ब्रोकर नहीं, क्लाइंट है जिसका एक अलग ब्रोकर के पास अकाउंट है और एक दूसरा डिफरेंट ब्रोकर के पास अकाउंट है. उन्होंने शेयर्स सेल आउट किया है ए में और वो बी से शेयर्स ट्रांसफर कर रहे हैं. ओके, तो अभी ऑब्लिगेशन जो ब्लॉक मैकेनिज्म का है वो यूसीसी थ्रू ब्लॉक करेगा, करेक्ट है? तो अगर बी से शेयर्स ट्रांसफर करेंगे ए अकाउंट में, ए के पूल अकाउंट में, ओके, तो वो यूसीसी किसका लिख के देना है? ए का लिख के देंगे यूसीसी या बी का लिख के देंगे यूसीसी जब वो स्लिप से शेयर ट्रांसफर करेंगे? तो
उत्तम जी, सर का क्वेश्चन आपको अंडरस्टैंड हो गया है क्या? मींस यू कैन.
नहीं सर, सॉरी, मेरा ध्यान कहीं और था. कुड यू रिपीट द क्वेश्चन? माय बैड.
हाँ सर, एक्चुअली मेरा क्वेश्चन ऐसा था कि ए से ए में क्लाइंट ने शेयर सेल किया हुआ है. ओके, ए इज अ ब्रोकर, बी आल्सो इज ब्रोकर. ठीक है, उस हेलो. हाँ, तो अगर क्लाइंट ऑफ मार्केट ट्रांसफर करता है फॉर पेइंग पर्पस, तो अगर वो बी से ए अकाउंट में ट्रांसफर कर रहा है पूल अकाउंट में,
ऑफ मार्केट ट्रांसफर फॉर पेइंग पर्पस, इस स्टेटमेंट का मतलब क्या है?
उसने सेल आउट किया हुआ है शेयर्स,
तो ऑफ मार्केट ट्रांसफर है ना भाई.
तो वो यूसीसी किसका मेंशन करके देगा? ए का देगा या
बी कौन है?
ए क्लाइंट है और बी भी क्लाइंट है. ओके, तो एक बी क्लाइंट ने बी ब्रोकर के पास सेल किया,
क्लाइंट बी को ट्रांसफर किया.
हाँ, तो उसमें वो यूसीसी कौन सा फिल करके देगा? ए का या बी?
ऑफ मार्केट ट्रांसफर में यूसीसी नहीं है.
नो, फॉर पेइंग पर्पस सर.
आपका सवाल कंसेप्चुअली गलत है. एक ब्रोकर है जीरोधा, एक क्लाइंट है विपिन, एक क्लाइंट है उत्तम.
ओके,
उत्तम ने विपिन को ट्रांसफर किया
फॉर पेइंग पर्पस के लिए.
विपिन ब्रोकर है क्या?
नहीं, क्लाइंट है.
मैं कोई पेज के लिए ट्रांसफर नहीं किया. मैंने विपिन को ट्रांसफर किया, गिफ्ट दिया, लव एंड अफेक्शन दिया, ऑफ मार्केट ट्रांसफर दिया. पेन के लिए मैं ट्रांसफर नहीं कर सकता. उत्तम विपिन को खाली दोस्ती खाते में दे सकता है. मैंने दोस्ती खाते में दिया, फिर आप जाने, आपका ब्रोकर जाने. उत्तम और विपिन के ब्रोकर बीच में नहीं आता.
ठीक है. और सर ये इफ इट्स पॉसिबल इन फ्यूचर एमएफ और टेंडर ऑफर ये डीडीपीआई में कंसीडर हो जाएगा?
सर हम सेबी के सामने हाथ पांव जोड़ चुके हैं, वो कंसीडर कर रहे हैं.
ओके, थैंक यू।
हेलो, हाँ पंकज जी पूछिए।
ब्लॉक मैकेनिज्म से जैसे मैं
नर्सिंग, कुंवर जी, प्रवीण जी,
Good afternoon.
अच्छा कुंवर जी, हाँ बोलिए।
Yes, I have two questions. हेलो हेलो,
हाँ कुंवर जी, आपकी आवाज एकदम क्लियर आ रही है, आप बोलिए।
देखिए ऐसा है कि अभी जैसे ये 6 एट्रीब्यूट के लिए जैसे फाइल देती है CDSL वीकली, ऐसा डीपी को अगर फाइल दे दे कि किसका यूसीसी किस डीमेट अकाउंट में मैप नहीं है, सीडेड नहीं है, तो दैट विल बी इजियर टू फाइंड आउट। क्योंकि अभी क्या है कि अभी वो डीपीएस 8 लेके उसको मैनिपुलेट करके हमको डेटा निकालना पड़ता है। दैट इज वन इश्यू। दूसरा इश्यू ऐसा है कि अगर कोई क्लाइंट आता है, अभी आया, जैसे EKYC से क्लाइंट आया, वो पीओए तो बाद में देगा, तो 30 अगस्त तक क्लाइंट आया और उसने पीओए सपोज 2 सितंबर को भेजा, तो वो पीओए हम ले सकते हैं कि हमको DDPI लेना पड़ेगा। और तीसरा इश्यू ये है कि आपने पहले सर्कुलर में लिखा था 1 सितंबर से, लेकिन प्रेजेंटेशन में आपने 31 अगस्त लिखा है, तो एग्जैक्ट डेट कौन सा होगा?
सर ओके, वो एक्चुअली आपने लेटेस्ट सर्कुलर शायद देखा नहीं है। यू आर करेक्ट, वो 1 सितंबर से इम्प्लीमेंट करना था, बट वो एक्चुअली 30 अगस्त को रिलीज करके 31 अगस्त से इफेक्टिव कर रहे हैं। सो दैट इज द लेटेस्ट सर्कुलर वी हैव सेंट।
और दूसरे दो इश्यू सर, वो एक
आपका जो 6 KYC एट्रीब्यूट का है ना सर, एक्चुअली आई विल एडवाइस यू कि आप मिस्टर नीलेश शाह के साथ बात कीजिए।
नहीं, मेरा इश्यू ये है कि जैसे 6 KYC एट्रीब्यूट्स का आप फाइल देते हैं हर वीक, वैसे जो डीमेट के क्लाइंट है हमारे डीपी में, जिनका यूसीसी सीडेड नहीं है, वो फाइल भी अगर आ जाए तो ये इश्यू आगे जाके हम पहले से टेक केयर कर सके। क्योंकि जो क्लाइंट इनएक्टिव है, वो अगर एक्टिव होता है तो वो एक आध दिन बाद ही उसका यूसीसी सीडिंग आता है, तो हम थोड़ा ध्यान रख सके कि हाँ ये क्लाइंट एक्टिव कर रहे हैं, तो हम उसका यूसीसी सीडिंग पहले करवाए, फिर ही उसको ट्रेडिंग की परमिशन दें।
बट सर ये CDSL को कैसा मालूम पड़ेगा कि ये अकाउंट में यूसीसी सीड होने वाला है, नहीं होने वाला है?
नहीं, जितना बाकी है उतना तो आप दे सकते हैं ना। जितने ब्रोकर डीपी है, यहाँ जितने क्लाइंट है, जिनका क्लाइंट का डीमेट अकाउंट है, वो क्लाइंटों में से जिसमें यूसीसी सीडिंग नहीं है किसी भी तरह का, वो डेटा अगर मिल जाए तो वो देखने की तकलीफ कम होगी। मेरा कहना यह है कि रेडी डेटा अवेलेबल होगा हमारे पास।
बट साहब, ये जो आपका पॉइंट है, आपके यूसीसी का डेटा किसके पास है? एक्सचेंज के पास।
बराबर।
डिपॉजिटरी के पास तो डिपॉजिटरी का डेटा है।
हाँ जी।
अब कौन इंसान है जो वहां चेक करके यहाँ चेक करके टैली करेगा?
नहीं, मैं व्हाट आई से उत्तम जी इज दिस,
मतलब डिपॉजिटरी तो नहीं कर सकता बेचारा?
नहीं, डिपॉजिटरी ओनली गिव्स अस द डेटा ऑफ दोस BUID।
अच्छा, सेपरेट रिपोर्ट दे दे एक सिंपल सा,
वेयर देयर इज नो UCC सीडेड।
ओके, सो बेसिकली यूसीसी सीडेड रिपोर्ट दे दो एक, बाकी हम कर लेंगे।
सीडेड और नॉट सीडेड, आइदर ऑफ दैट रिपोर्ट।
एक सिंपल सा रिपोर्ट दे दे यार, बाकी मैं निकाल लूंगा। वरना आप बोल रहे हो अभी पूरा मैनिपुलेट करके निकालना पड़ता है अंदर से, कहाँ छुपे हुआ डेटा।
फर्स्ट थिंग, और एक इश्यू रह गया, वन इश्यू स्टिल पेंडिंग, that is pertaining to the EKYC client who has just registered on say 28th August, and he will be sending his POA physically in by courier or post, that we will receive after 1st September. Whether we will be able to accept that POA or we will have to ask him to give DDPI only.
DDPI आपको पूछना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि ऑल्दो POA एग्जीक्यूट हो गया 31 अगस्त के पहले, बट आपका जो पीओ का जो लिंकिंग होगा ना, सो दैट इज गोइंग टू हैपन आफ्टर 31st अगस्त। तो आप वो पीओए लिंक कर भी पाएंगे तो देन सेटलमेंट और मार्जिन प्रेस का ट्रांजैक्शन।
Okay, I understood. I understood. Thank you.
Basically, system will not accept.
Yeah.
As long as we know.
Prashant, this is Praveen here from Sherkhan. Whether client is opted for the EDS or DDPI or a POA, so there won't be any changes in a existing API of the margin place. We need not to change anything. Am I correct?
Yeah, actually, as per my understanding, there is no change, but then still, I think प्रवीण जी है तो ये संदीप या पुजारी के साथ एक बार कंफर्म कर लेते हैं।
Okay.
Logically, there should not be any change, but still, since it's a API question, so we need to doubly sure. So I think we'll get it confirmed from Sandeep or.
Okay. And my another question is that we have implemented the block mechanism, even though there is no mandatory presently, optional. However, what we have observed in a certain cases of the NRI where the multiple codes are there, in that particular scenario, block mechanism is not working.
Multiple UCCs are there. That is what you are saying for those.
Yeah. Particularly NRI. So in NRI, every broker is issuing the multiple UCC code.
Okay, but then in CDSL, you must be giving UCC details along with the transaction. So, so does it mean that the trade which takes place on exchange, that doesn't take place using the same UCC? Does it take place using some other UCC?
See that I think system is unable to identify it from the exchange side or some deposit somewhere, where they are not able to identify under the which UCC code trade has happened, and therefore this is happening.
Nice. This, like, I think we need to discuss, because we need to have certain logic so that we can build that logic in the system.
Sure, definitely. I'll call you.
Yeah, we can discuss this offline. We need to have logic. If there is proper logic, then we can get it implemented in the system. There is no issue.
Yeah. Okay. So for API, will API also separate? Yeah. Okay. No problem.
Yeah. Either you can, I mean, you speak to Sandeep and you can speak, or I will speak to them and I will do it. No problem.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Hetul? हर्षद जी।
हेलो।
हाँ हेतुल जी।
हाँ सर, मेरी आवाज आ रही है सर?
हाँ आ रही है सर, बोलिए।
हाँ सर, मेरी क्वेरी ब्लॉक मैकेनिज्म के रिगार्डिंग थी। अभी मेरे बहुत सारे केसेस में जो जिनके जॉइंट्स अकाउंट है यूसीसी में भी मैप्ड है, लेकिन उनके यहाँ पे ईडीआई से पे नहीं हो रहा है।
ईडीआई से पे नहीं हो रहा है?
हाँ।
No, but is that client registered for EDS facility?
Yeah.
तो मीन्स कहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम आ रहा है? EDS अगर
अभी मैंने फर्दर प्रीवियस कन्वर्सेशन में मैंने सुना था कि एक्सचेंज से डायरेक्ट डेटा फेच होता है CDSL में, कि यूसीसी डायरेक्ट लिंक हो जाता है, ठीक है?
आपका क्वेरी यूसीसी का है या EDS ट्रांजैक्शन एग्जीक्यूशन का है?
नहीं, मेरे क्वेरी पेन के रिगार्डिंग है। वो यूसीसी लिंकिंग तो एक्सचेंज में मैंने कर दिया है।
ओके, ठीक है।
लेकिन वो CDSL में रिफ्लेक्ट नहीं हो रहा है जॉइंट अकाउंट के केस में।
मतलब यूसीसी CDSL अकाउंट में लिंक हुआ है ऐसा रिफ्लेक्ट नहीं हुआ है?
हाँ
सर, एक काम करते हैं, आप उसका डिटेल्स हम सेपरेटली दे दीजिए। We'll get it checked.
Okay.
I think this is a possibility to bring up.
सर ये अगर ये
हेतुल भाई एक मिनट। बॉम्बे स्टॉक एक्सचेंज ब्रोकर्स फोरम BBF ने एक सपोर्ट डेस्क चालू किया है, मैं कई वेबिनार में बोल चुका हूँ। तो इट इज फॉर ऑल मेंबर्स ऑफ BBF। ऐसा कुछ भी होना ऑकवर्ड, जो सीधा नहीं, तो सपोर्ट डेस्क को एक बार अप्रोच कीजिए, शायद हम आपकी मदद कर सकें।
ओके।
तो support desk @brokersforumofindia.com and we'll try to help you. We started this as a activity of BBF. It is manned by full-time employees of BBF who has who has compliance and operational experience.
Okay. और मेरा दूसरा क्वेरी है ताकि अगर ये एक्सचेंज या CDSL से ऐसा कुछ लिस्ट मिल जाता कि जिनके लिंकिंग बाकी है यूसीसी के, तो ज्यादा अच्छा होता।
हाँ, ये भी क्वेश्चन किसी का आया है, so we'll explore that, sir.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, this is Harshad from HDFC Securities.
हाँ, बोलिए.
हाँ, sir, my question is regarding this block mechanism. अभी हम लोग through block mechanism EDS करते हैं, जिसमें our pool account is in NSDL. So shares are transferred from CDSL account to NSDL pool account, and वो भले हम लोग block mechanism के through करते हैं, लेकिन वो same day debit हो जाता है. Okay, so with this implementation on 17th, or SEBI has mandated on 14th of November. So will interdepository transactions remain in blocked status till T+2, or it will follow the same mechanism?
No,
like
it will remain in the client account till pay-in day. Okay, so that is under development. That either it will get released along with this release, or it may get released earlier also. We'll issue a separate communique for that. Yeah.
Okay, great. Secondly, what we have identified in EDS pain, sometimes what happens, because that UCC is not mapped in CDSL, so that pain gets failed. So in that case, what we do, we map it manually in CDSL, and then it gets CDSL में वो verified stage में जाता है, and after 4 hours it is seen in CDSL. So with now the volume of transactions coming under block mechanism will be high. So can we expect this verification time to be reduced from 4 hours to some 1 hour, so that early paying can be done on the same day?
I will again take this as a suggestion. I will explore. I will talk to development team, IT team, and we'll try to.
Currently, because in EDS hardly 1 or 2 transactions fail. Now, if the entire pain goes through block mechanism, the count can be high, and we may miss on the early paying on the same day. So that is why this concerns.
Yeah,
okay.
We'll definitely explore this possibility.
Yeah, and the third question is on the SLPM paying part. So the UCC code is to be mentioned. The segment mentioned is to be 04, right? For the in the paying file.
04.
Yeah, currently the segment code is 04 for SLPM. So it has to be the same in the paying file, right?
Yeah, it has to be same in the paying file, correct.
Yeah, and the client and the SLPM UCC is to be mapped to the client. So that will happen automatically, right, through exchange. Once the client is registered for SLPM, it will come automatically into your CDSL systems, and from there I can take it to my DP systems, right?
Yeah, so basically once the UCC registration has taken place for SLB, and when we receive these details from exchange, it will come with the segment code as SLB. So accordingly, it will get linked to the client account with the segment code as SLB.
Okay. Good. Okay, that answers my question. Thank you very much.
Yeah, welcome.
Hello.
Yes, Jignesh.
Yeah, we are actually a custodian.
Just 1 minute, Jignesh, 1 minute. Friends, what happens many times, people raise the electronic hand, and then they forget to lower it. So what we do is every 15-20 minutes, we just lower all hands. So आपने hand raise किया, suddenly lower हो गया. It's not because we don't want you to talk, it's just because we are doing our cleaning. So in case something like this happened, please raise your hand again. So sorry, but I need to clarify.
So may I?
Yeah, Jignesh,
so we are basically custodians. So one thing we got to know that DDPI is not applicable to custodians. So what about the API and pay-in transactions? Is applicable to custodians?
API and pay-in transactions.
that UCC mapping is mandatory from the 17th September. That part is mandatory for custodian as well?
No. That is so. That is what. So even that is also not mandatory for this.
Okay, so this circular is as of now not applicable to custodians, right?
Yes.
Okay, so can we have or may we have the email stating that this will not applicable to custodians? Because there you have mentioned that CP and transaction flag as CP or TM, where the custodian, if you are custodian, then you use CP as the transaction flag, or if you are trading member, then use TM as the transaction E flag. So if we can have email, so we can forward it to our compliance team and system team, so accordingly we can act.
You can send us a mail. We will confirm back to you.
Okay, thank you. So these both DDP as well as API UCC is not applicable to custodians.
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
पंकज जी बोलिए। आनंद भाई, आनंद जी, नो। राजेश शिवांकर,
Yeah, hello, this is Rajesh here. I have 3 questions. One is related to DDPI, whether we need to bank account and demat account number in the annexures, because I missed that point when Prashanji was explaining something on that.
Sorry,
Hello?
bank account? No, I didn't understand the question.
In the DDPI, do we need to mention all the demat accounts in which we do the paying? That the way we annexure in POA, right, Rajesh ji, पंकज जी?
Yeah.
जिस तरह POA में कनेक्शन होता है, सारे अपने डीमैट अकाउंट मेंशन करते हैं, उस तरह DDPI में भी होगा क्या? शायद आपने ऐसा कुछ कहा था कि हाँ, but can you reconfirm whether understanding is correct?
Yeah. So basically जो POA में जो ब्रोकर का अकाउंट जो मेंशन करते हैं, जहाँ पे क्रेडिट आ सकता है बेस्ड ऑन POA, तो सेम अकाउंट नंबर्स आपको DDPI का फॉर्मेट में मेंशन करना पड़ेगा.
Okay. Second question is related to franking. Suppose we are giving this online format to take an e-sign from the client. So can we keep a frank stamp paper with us so we can take an online signature on a annexure?
ये compliance का query है sir, ये operations वाले का सवाल का जवाब नहीं दे पाएंगे sir.
Okay. Coming to third question is related to UCC. Suppose one of my client A has closed my trading, and now he has come back and asked me to open a trading account with same demat account. So the UCC will get mapped by default in depository or with a new UCC.
आपके एक client है, उसका demat account number 1 है. वो आया, उसका पहला UCC था A001. आपने A001 बंद कर दिया, चलो बहुत बढ़िया. फिर आपने वो वापस आया 6 महीने बाद, बोला वापस demat trading खोलना है. तो आपने नया UCC बनाया A002.
Yes.
सवाल ये A002 अपने आप मैप हो जाएगा कि नहीं हो जाएगा?
Yeah.
Okay.
तो हो जाएगा सर, क्योंकि A002 जब क्रिएट होगा, आप जब एक्सचेंज को इन्फॉर्म करोगे, एक्सचेंज के पास से नया यूसीसी का डिटेल्स आ जाएगा, एंड देन विल लिंक दैट यूसीसी टू द डीमैट अकाउंट.
हो जाएगा मिस्टर वांग.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Anand ji, would you still like to ask a question? No. Ujjwal, please. Pankaj ji, Mr. Pankaj, please unmute yourself. If you're speaking, we can't hear you. If you have raised your hand and we call out, please boliye, then please unmute yourself and ask a question if you really want to. नायनक जी.
हाँ सर, मुझे ये पूछना था, ओल्ड पीओए जो भी है वो अगर डीडीपीआई नहीं ओपन करना चाहता है तो उसका पीओए वैलिड रहेगा जब तक उसका अकाउंट हमारे पास? तो कोई जरूरत नहीं है ना डीडीपीआई
कुछ नहीं, पुराने क्लाइंट ग्रैंडफादर्ड है. हो सकता है 6 महीने बाद नया सिक्युलर आए, लेकिन आज के तारीख में वो ग्रैंडफादर है.
ओके सर, थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू.
उसके लिए कोई वैलिडिटी नहीं है.
मतलब
क्लाइंट टाइम में देना ही है,
क्लाइंट की इच्छा है बेसिकली। हाँ,
राइट। थैंक यू सर।
ओके, देयर इज SIP जी।
या सर, मेरा क्वेश्चन है कि सपोज ब्रोकर के पूल में यानी CDSL प्रिंसिपल या CDSL पूल के अंदर सपोज देयर आर 2 क्लाइंट्स, दोनों क्लाइंट ने बाहर से शेयर उनके पूल में ट्रांसफर किया। अभी सपोज एक क्लाइंट ने UCC लिखा और दूसरे क्लाइंट ने UCC नहीं लिखा, तो वैसा कौन सा रिस्पॉन्स फाइल है जिसमें ब्रोकर को पता लगे फॉर द पर्पस ऑफ बैक ऑफिस रिकंसिलिएशन कि UCC कोड किसमें नहीं है और किसमें है?
बट अब तो UCC लिखेगा नहीं तो आएगा नहीं ना शेयर आफ्टर।
यानी नहीं, अगर कंपलसरी यानी अगर ब्रोकर सपोज कोई क्लाइंट ने UCC नहीं लिखा तो वो ट्रांजैक्शन एग्जीक्यूट होगा ही नहीं
होगा सर।
अच्छा, तो UCC का डिटेल मुझे कोई भी रिस्पॉन्स फाइल में मिलेगा कि नहीं मिलेगा?
नहीं, वो अपलोड का इसमें ही आ जाएगा ना सर। फॉर एग्जांपल इफ यू आर ट्राइंग,
पॉइंट इज SIP जी बोल रहे हैं कि जब शेयर्स ब्रोकर के पूल में टपकते हैं तो उस कौन से UCC क्लाइंट ने क्या लिखा था, इज देयर एनी रिपोर्ट दैट वी कैन सी?
या
So you
either
are
in
the capacity, you're looking for a DP report or you're looking for a ECS report?
You can say DP report or you can say ECS report also.
It's Prashant
See, for the purpose of information.
Yeah. I totally understand, sir. As a broker, I totally understand. यदि रिपोर्ट में जाए तो पता चल जाए, अब तक मेरी को अच्छा हो जाएगा।
हाँ, कि क्लाइंट ने UCC डिटेल सही लिखा है नहीं लिखा है।
ये ना actually I need to check.
See, right now we are using DPC9 for the purpose of reconciliations.
आपने 57 चेक किया है?
Sorry?
57 DP57 चेक किया है?
DP57 is a very huge file that is used for DP back office, but for the purpose of trading back office, see DP57 for a single.
We asked 2 questions. One is a DP file or a broking file. DP file
for a trading back office.
अब ECS के लिए कोई फाइल है? Or maybe take it as a session CDSL team. If you could give a specific file which a DP just gives TM and the TM can use it.
Yeah.
We'll explore this possibility.
Okay, thank you.
रोहित जी गुप्ता।
सर, ये DDPI के रिगार्डिंग 3 जो अपने को POA मुझे लाइक POA होता था पहले, वैसे 3 IP क्रिएट कर आईडी क्रिएट करने पड़ेंगे राइट CDSL में?
2 मिनिमम 2
एक ओनली फॉर द
एक POA के लिए, एक DDPI के लिए। रोहित जी आपकी आवाज बिल्कुल चली गई।
ओके सर, ओके।
राजेश जी गरट।
हेलो।
हाँ बोलिए
सर,
राजेश।
मुझे UCC के बारे में जानना है। सपोज अगर किसी क्लाइंट ने एक स्लिप ऑन मार्केट या अर्ली पेन के लिए इंस्ट्रक्शन दे दिया है, बराबर, उसने UCC डाल दिया है और UCC मैंने पंच कर दिया, लेकिन वो अपने मास्टर में है ही नहीं UCC,
तो फेल हो जाएगा।
वो एक्सेप्ट ही नहीं होगा, प्रोसेस ही नहीं होगा ट्रांजैक्शन सर।
ओके, तो उसके लिए क्या करना पड़ेगा? उसके
सवाल याद
काम है क्लाइंट का इंस्ट्रक्शन प्रोसेस करना। क्लाइंट ने इंस्ट्रक्शन ठीक से भर के दे दिया तो क्लाइंट का प्रॉब्लम है, DP का नहीं। अब आउट ऑफ एडिशनल सर्विस आप करना चाहो तो करना चाहिए, तो देख बोल दो भैया UCC में आप नहीं है, फेल होने वाला, देख ले भाई।
हाँ, ओके, क्योंकि क्या है, क्योंकि बहुत से हमारे क्लाइंट जो
गलती करते हैं तो आपकी जिम्मेदारी नहीं है, अपनी जिम्मेदारी नहीं है DP।
नहीं, वो तो है, लेकिन क्या है, अभी सपोज क्योंकि मेरे मास्टर में दिखा रहा है कि एक एक्सचेंज का उसका UCC है, दूसरे का UCC है नहीं, तो मैंने देखा तो क्या है, जो एक्टिव लिस्ट है वही उन्होंने अपडेट है, जो इनएक्टिव है उनका अपडेट नहीं हुआ है,
वो सजेशन एक्सचेंज को भेज देता है।
हाँ, लेकिन क्या है, सपोज अभी क्लाइंट ने क्या है, आज सुबह या फिर कल रात को उन्हें एक्सचेंज को दे दिया अपडेट करने के लिए नया, लेकिन अपने मास्टर में अपडेट नहीं हुआ है।
ओके,
समझे? क्योंकि अभी जो
एक्सचेंज का प्रॉब्लम है सर, एक्सचेंज से बात करते हैं सर।
एक्सचेंज से बात करना पड़ेगा।
हाँ, ये CDSL कुछ नहीं कर सकता।
ओके, चलेगा। और दूसरी बात है, नहीं चलेगा। ओके,
सोहेल भाई। Sohail, you're on mute. No. We are, I think, down to the last 3-4 questions. So let's move in that direction. Yeah, Chetan. You have a question?
Sir, I have a question.
बोलिए चेताली जी. सोहेल दोसानी जी.
हेलो.
हाँ, आवाज आ गई, बोलिए.
हाँ सर, अभी ये CDSL में DDPI POID क्रिएट कब कर सकेंगे हम एज अ DP?
गुड क्वेश्चन.
आप 31 अगस्त से कर पाएंगे.
31 अगस्त.
हाँ.
ओके सर, थैंक यू.
एक ही दिन में सब कराओगे? ठीक है.
हाँ वही ना.
सब एक ही दिन में, और जल्दी लोड कर, जल्दी मैप कर. ये एक्चुअली न्यू क्लाइंट्स के लिए, ऐसे तो मारामारी नहीं होगी, बट फिर भी इट हैज टू बी डन पड़ेगा.
बट एनीवे आईडी तो एक ही क्रिएट करना है, लिंकिंग खाली मल्टीपल अकाउंट्स.
बट 31 अगस्त का सबके थिंग्स शुड में लिखना पड़ेगा.
बस है गुड.
सही.
हां सही है. गुड क्वेश्चन. सुविधा.
महेश जी वाघ.
Hello. Yeah, hello.
Yes, Mahesh ji.
Aja, there is one serious concern with this suggestion that for this block mechanism, we just implemented actually through this UCC option. So main basic problem we are facing is that combination of BO, CM, ID. So actually my suggestion is that it becomes very difficult, as you rightly said, that this actually comes from the exchange, right? This information comes flow from the exchange to the depository. Now, in case we find this kind of a issue, what should be done? Because these accounts are registered long back, so we need some kind of a report. Actually, we need some kind of a report so that like we can refer and we can like resolve those queries. So because this is going to happen going forward, like once we totally implement this, so there will be a number of instructions will be huge. So if the 10-15 bhi agar play hota hai, so it will be very difficult actually.
So Mahesh bhai, the only solution is regular reconciliation, probably.
But how can I recode that? That's what I'm asking in DP, whether that properly
there was a report
done or not. How will come to know?
CDSL एक report, I think one of the members mentioned कि इस report से निकल जाता है.
No, I don't think so.
One member mentioned कि कौन सा DP कौन सा report था? But yeah, there has to be one report जहाँ look up करके देख लिया.
Only one report we are looking at it, which is where the mapping is not done. So like at least we can take up those things actually.
Mapping not done वाला report काम नहीं आएगा. Map क्या map हुआ है वो report काम आएगा actually महेश भाई. But
क्योंकि अभी जो issues आ रहा है ना basically वो ये margin page में भी same issue था और ये आता है ना तो we don't know whom to talk actually. That's the main issue because NSE बोलता है कि you talk to CDS, मतलब CDSL will बोलेगा exchange से बात करो, exchange से.
Write a mail to both of them, CC to BBF support desk, हम सबकी बैंड बजा देंगे.
Okay. Yeah, but we are looking for one report actually. That's the thing.
Hello.
इको आ रहा है आपका ऐसा इको जी?
Yeah, my question is, how will Qna paying happen? Okay, in DDPI mode, it will be pool to pool, right?
Yeah, it will be Qna to paying account. In case of base, it will be from Qna to principal account. In case of NSE, it will be from Qna to NSE clearing member account.
Okay. And what about inter-settlement? If any cases are there?
Inter-settlement.
That also will be pool to.
Yeah, from pool to pool, even in that case also, basically, you will be required to mention the UCC details. From pool to pool, for example, I mean, that will be, basically, it will be like a payout transaction. So currently, with this release, actually, we are not giving additional details of this payout transaction, but eventually this validation will take place for payout transaction also. That means from pool to pool, from one settlement ID to another settlement ID, so we'll be required to mention the UCC details as to for which client you are doing the pool to pool transfer, and then we'll match that transaction with the obligation details.
Does mean client wise need to be uploaded, right, to the exchange?
Yeah, correct.
Right. Huh?
Yes.
So if that matching happens, then I will get the early payment benefit.
Right.
Okay. And if it is from CDSL client account, when BO account to NSDL, because if the principal pool is with NSDL, then on settlement date only the stock will be debited from customer's account, right? That corporate action benefit all will be given by to the customer, right?
Actually, as of now, it is not happening that way. As on today, basically debit happens on the execution date only. But going on with this release, or maybe prior to that, it will happen on paying day. That means securities will remain in the client account. Yeah.
That means post 17th September, we can expect the client to get the corporate action benefits, right?
Correct. Perfectly correct. Yeah.
And if such instructions are given, there also we need not upload client by CPF files.
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thanks for the clarification.
Chaitali ji.
So my question is whether witness is required for physical witness. Do we need to intimate our existing POA holders that there is a change?
There's too much background noise, Chaitali. We can't hear you, man.
Hello, am I audible now?
You're audible, but there's a lot of background noise, unfortunately. All right, we'll take a couple of more questions. I think we've crossed our time. Anyways. Someone from OnePlus?
Let this be the last question. OnePlus.
Yes, please.
Sir, I'm Nitish from the मुझे क्वेश्चन था कि सपोज यूसीसी हम लोग करते रहे
We can hardly. Bye everybody. आपकी आवाज बहुत कम है यार.
हेलो
हाँ बोलिए सर.
हाँ सर आवाज आ रही है मेरी?
आ रही है बोलिए.
ओके सर मुझे पूछना था क्वेश्चन है जिसमें हम लोग 3 डीमैट डिटेल्स ऐड करते हैं एज अ अकाउंट ओपनिंग. ओके देन अभी समझो एबीसी अकाउंट मैप है 3 अकाउंट है एबीसी एंड डी समझो आ गया डी में से अर्ली पेइंग हुआ है राइट. तो फिर वो वहां पर मैच नहीं रहेगा तो ब्लॉक मैकेनिज्म में वो पॉसिबल है?
No, actually your question is not clear.
For demat account I have total 3 accounts, so same plan, right?
So you have so there a client has 4 demat accounts in which 3 has UCC treated and 1 doesn't.
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So if UCC is not treated, फिर कुछ नहीं होगा उसमें से पेन का माल नहीं उतरेगा ब्लॉक में काम खत्म.
So other way out क्या है सर?
Other way उसको सीड करवाओ.
Off market. क्या उसको मॉडिफाई कर सकते हैं?
मॉडिफाई तो सीड करो जबरदस्ती और अप्रूव करवाओ.
अच्छा. ओके. ठीक है, थैंक यू.
So sorry for the questions we're going to take, but point is we have to be a little reasonable to our hosts. We've already.
ठीक है सर. Thank you.
Thank you. तो OnePlus से ही मुझे याद आया कि I always request all the participants जो भी अपना नाम पूरा नहीं डालते उनसे रिक्वेस्ट है कि अपना नाम प्रॉपर्ली डालें. We will be able to recognize, and we will be happy to know your name also. So wherever there are, only a few were there today, but still my request continues कि आप अपना नाम डाला करें from next seminar onwards. So that is one thing. And the other thing is, normally we do seminars based on the feedback from members, or wherever BBF feels कि there is a need for doing a topic on such particular topic. And the third and most easiest way is to, whenever we get a suggestion from any MMII that we should do a session, we do it, yes, always. And for this session, actually, the credit goes to Yogesh Kundani, whom I met the other day, and he suggested to have a session on this, and we, as usual, we instantly agreed. Therefore, Yogesh Kundani, thank you so much. And we didn't expect such a large audience, 450 plus at one time, and it was a pleasant surprise for all of us. So all the participants, thank you so much, and being so much active and asking so many questions today. The presentation given by Prashantji was very, very simple to understand, and it covered everything in so much of detail, and probably many questions were answered during that presentation only. Still, people were asking a large number of questions, and Prashantji has given all the answers except a few which maybe deserve clarification from Team CDSL or from exchanges. And Uttamji joined in at the end of the session. He, towards the end of the PPT, he made a summary of it and made some checks and cross checks for better clarity for all of us. And during the session, he has remained present wherever required. Proper clarification, proper input was given by him as usual. He remains active from the start to the end and available for all of us 24/7. So thank you, Prashantji, thank you, Uttamji, and thank you, Team CDSL, Team BBF, for flawless execution of today's session. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Lalit.
Thank you very much.